African shirt today. Oh well, sound. You hear me, Kev? I'm not hearing. I'm not hearing. No sound. No sound. Whoa. Sound.
Are we live?
Yeah, we live right now, ladies and gentlemen. We live.
Okay. How can we be live at
We
this time? Is but anyway,
we
it's
are.
all
We are live.
okay. Anyway, it's all good. And let's welcome to the closing argument. How are you, Dr. Peabody?
Kev, I am doing phenomenal. I'm doing well. Thank God for another day, and thank God for today's edition of the closing argument. I'm wearing a beautiful basan that was given to me in Accra, Ghana, by a friend, and so today I'm really, I feel good wearing it, man. But I'm excited that the Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, Chief Doctor Joa Howard Tiller, will be here. I'm excited.
Yes, that Peabody. Yes, today we're going to be having the vice president, and she's the current vice president because there, I think, approximately a week and a half left, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
she's still the current vice president, but the title will still be there, former vice president,
yes,
former first lady of
yes,
Liberia.
yes.
So she will still have that title. Yes,
Incredible.
yeah. So, what do you expect?
Well, you know that this is not. It will not be the first time the first lady will be appearing. I've had the opportunity of interviewing the first lady on our former network, and then the closing acumen. But I can tell you, it's a woman who knows what she wants, who's very careful with her words, who is very blunt about it. She doesn't bite her tongue when she talks. Very uh, eloquent. And I'm looking forward to hear from her. But one thing fascinating about this first lady is that she is a woman of faith. It's a woman who loved the Lord. She's a strong Christian and very kind-hearted. So we're looking forward. I mean, this is a woman with a diverse experience. She uh, uh, she's graduated from. I was reading her profile some time ago. I mean, very astute stateswoman. She was a former senator, former first lady, uh, 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 and she's a mother, former wife of President Charles Gange Tiller. Uh, the woman hold a degree in banking and she had two bachelor degree banking and economics. She's also has an MBA. She's a lawyer, and you name it, man. She's a public servant. She graduated from Louis Arthur Grant School of Law. And she's an astute public servant.
Yeah, and it happened that you at one time visited her church, something like that, right? I
In
think.
fact, I was just in November. I was at a church and I had the opportunity to just bring a word of comfort. The power. I still remember talking about the power of forgiveness, and I had the opportunity to share at her church. But one thing I like about her, Kev, if you go to her church, she sit in a servant role. She's always serving. She's the person who will be right there, and you will not even, apart from her arriving, you're not even going to know she's there. She's just going to sit there in her back and be a real servant. She's not the type who will be flamboyant, sitting all over. She's a real servant, and I had the opportunity to go to her church on November 19. That's when I was at her church and shared. But very, very, very a strong woman who loved the Lord.
Yeah, I just want to let our folks out there, please share the show. Please, they share the show so people can tune in and watch and listen. I know uh, Radio Land people are out there listening, and we on True FM, Hard FM, other radio station are relaying the show today. So um, I think we'll have a great show. So, Mr. Yawolo George, how are you?
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, Kefiku. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
How you?
That
How,
way you handle. Nando. Let me say hi and welcome to my good friend Winifred Smith. Thank you for the call this morning. Thank you, for all the good words. I just want to say thank you. Thank you, everybody out there who sent me. You know, yeah. Tommy George, welcome.
what's up, buddy? Man, how you been spending the birthday today?
Lot of calls,
I know, right?
lot of calls, uh, and I lot of good messages on Facebook. Oh, for lot
What?
of good, okay. Yeah, lot of good messages on Facebook. So uh, some people that I thought you know don't like me send me good wishes. So it was good. It was good uh, today. But let me ask you this: where the vice president going to be on the closing argument today? She going to be here talking about end of the year term and talking about the election, uh, the fire uh, in Bon County. What say you, my brother?
Oh, the training issues that are happening.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, before you say that, let me also say, Maka called me the high table. Let me tell you, Tommy, the high table is the best place to be on
best
the
place,
weekend. It
best
is the
place.
best place to be. You feel at home when you get there. Home food, that's the best place. So I'm just saying out there, anybody
Yeah,
who around
just the way they're not dissing you.
anybody who around the Maryland area, the Virginia area, the DC area, even around the Delaware area, and just come down Germantown and just come down to Marketplace. You will really have fun. You feel like you're in Liberia. If you're missing Liberia, go to Marketplace. You will feel like you're in Liberia. Good food, good food. Go ahead, my brother.
Yes, we under the lot of trending news. We have the election of Speaker of the 55th incoming legislature of Liberia is coming up next week, and also for the pro tem. And we all know that the president-elect invited some lawmakers, all lawmakers yesterday at his residence. We really don't know what he invited them for, but uh, the majority bloc did not, most of them, and I thought many said he was talking to discussing the legislative agenda or trying to secure the speaker position, but again, I don't think it was successful. So we're looking forward to the election next year, next week of the speaker and pro tem. And we also know that the nomination for for Supreme Court Associate Justice by the President uh, of Councilor Dean is still hanging. Perhaps it may be dead. We don't know, but I think it will go to the next legislature, next Senate, and also for the LRA General, the Commissioner General Samura Wolokoli is also pending. But perhaps this Senate may not take it up, so we look forward to seeing it. And then we are also looking forward to the President-elect's cabinet. To see who will be making the list for his first cabinet picks. We are going to aggressively scrutinize those picks. So if you have scans on your closet, you have and then kind of stuff on you, be prepared that the closing argument will open an argument on you and will close it on you. We will not leave no screw unturned. We're going to make sure that we aggressively and thoroughly scrutinize everyone. And so we are here. That's why we got a closing argument. Our name remains the same. We open an argument for 2029 on January 22nd, 12:01 p.m. As soon as President-elect Bouakai says, "So help me God," the argument opens for 2029. We'll be there to make sure that we are all part of the history of our country. But besides that, it's good to be on this program to perhaps be the last group platform that will interview the outgoing vice president, 30th vice president of our country, as she leaves office in the next few days, especially on the birthday of Keff Hassan too. So it's a great time. So we look forward to it.
Yeah. Welcome, Chairman Ben Sanvee. Today, folks out there, I'm going to be moderating the show today. Somebody's going to be my co-moderator just in case something come up. I have to do something. So it's going to be 2 minutes each around, and if you have a follow-up, you can do that. But we're going to have a show that the vice president is going to talk about the end of term review. Going to talk about defying Bon County election and so many other things she's going to be talking about. And that's what we're going to be having a very, very good show today. Mr. Ben Sanvee, your opening, sir.
So why you all blue? You should have told me. I know why.
It's a blue day.
It's good to see you. Happy birthday, my brother. We thank God for your life, and thank Him for giving you the opportunity to see another day. Yes, looking forward to this discussion today. I think I'm gonna ask my questions, so nobody should think I'm not going to ask my questions. But I'm looking forward to it, right? You get a chance to, how many times do you get a chance to speak to the vice president of your country? Let's say she avails herself. We are in a very important transition. She recently submitted her transitional notes, her turnover notes to the incoming vice president. We would like to get a chance of how does she feel, because clearly this is not what they thought they were going to be doing today. They thought they were going to be getting ready for inauguration, but they've lost and conceded gracefully, I may add, she and the president. So we just want to get a sense of where her mind is right now. What are her plans? What she's doing? She's a relatively young woman. So is the president. He's a relatively young man. We clearly need to know that are they done with politics? What are they looking at doing? What are their next steps? Those are the kind of conversations that I'm hoping that we will be able to have with Madam Vice President, and and just have a light and have a light time to have the conversations. Obviously, maybe some serious, some things, talk about their successes. And then we take it from there. But I'm looking forward to, to having the conversation with her. Yeah.
Thank you, Ben. By the way, you one of the first person that called me this morning, and I can announce that the president of Liberia did call me this morning and wish me happy birthday, and and I'm happy to uh, to be one of the chosen few in the world that the president can call and wish happy birthday, and and to all the folks out there, especially my CDC people, uh, ministers and other people that called me this morning, and people out there on Facebook. So I want to say, thanks to everybody, you know. But Dr. Peabody, let me start with you. What do you expect today from the VP?
Please share the show, guys. Please share the show. It's a big show
Well,
today.
let me say that uh, the VP is an astute stateswoman, as I said earlier. One who is very, very to the point. One who does not hold back. She's straight to the point. She share it as it is, and she lay out there very clear. Let me say that Liberia have been very fortunate to have this woman serve in the capacity uh, uh, first lady and then vice president. The vice president did earn the name. She was given the title of Swakoko, uh, 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 and that has a great impact. In fact, she was even named chief in Brown County, and that showed the level of memorializing the namesake of Swakoko District. But member of the group that was awarded, very great title. So she's that's true. But one thing that stands out for this vice president is her relationship with God and how she's a servant. I mean, when she's in the house of worship, you don't see her as a vice president. You don't see a vice president. You see a woman who is only there to worship God and play her role and serve in our benefit church, and see her serving in the usher role and different capacity. And if someone didn't tell you that she was the vice president, you would not know. So we have been very fortunate to have her as the vice president of the Republic of Liberia.
Something?
Well, like Peabody said, Her Excellency Chief Jua Howard Taylor, who happens to be the 30th Vice President of Liberia and President of the Liberian Senate. She's someone who we all know very well. We have met her. She have invited her to her home before, and we know her very well. She's been involved with her Girls Foundation. That's the project that we went to for girls that abandoned girls, young women. She's been involved with that, and she's been serving the president to the best of her ability. And she comes from her father from Lofa, her mother from Bon. So she's a very well known in Liberia. She's a highly educated woman, a lawyer too, also a lawyer. And like Ben said, she just turned 60 last year, and this woman has a lot of life ahead of her, and we believe she will be making a lot of contribution to her country and maybe to Africa and the world. And it's good she's coming tonight, so we can ask her future plans, uh, whether she will still be actively involved in politics after she leaves office in the next few days, and so she'll also be engaging her about her accomplishments as vice president on the last 6 years and so forth, and how she feels for them being only having opportunity to be serve the country for one term. Was any regrets you have or anything? We have a frank conversation with her tonight, and we hope that Liberian people will enjoy this conversation and everything will be fine tonight, and we'll have a cordial and respectful conversation with the vice president. So it's a privilege to be on a platform that would interview the vice president. Not many people have the opportunity to interview president and vice president, and so we are happy. And hopefully, I know the incoming vice president will also be watching this show tonight too, to see. We're gonna have an interesting time tonight.
Okay, thank you. She currently in the back. We're going to be bringing her any moment now, probably in the next 2 minutes. And I hope she hearing me from the back because I can see her, but her window is closed. She the back. So Ben, what are you expecting tonight? You muted, Ben.
Like I said, just look, just a great conversation. Obviously, I think everybody knows my relationship with the VP. I have a huge degree of respect and admiration for this woman. I mean, her life story itself, it's one that is, look, whether people like her or hate her, she is a fighter. I've always said, those who underestimate Joa Taylor, you do it at your own peril. If you think she is going to fade away, you must be having something else. The fact that she ended up rising to the second most powerful position in the country, it speaks testament to her tenacity and what she and the fighting spirit that she has, right? So for me, I think I'm looking forward to having a very fascinating conversation. Like I said, and the other thing is, let people get to see a lighter side of her, right? She's outgoing vice president. I'm hoping that we can ask her some. I mean, maybe parts of her that I know, Keff, Tomalin, or we all know that the country don't know. Because sometimes these people, there's a tendency where people sometimes tend to not realize that they're human beings too, right? They have feelings, they cry, they laugh, they get hurt. Just kind of like having a well-rounded conversation with her and getting to know who she is. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay. Well, I hope she hearing me from the back. Well, let me say this. Welcome, Madam Vice President, to the closing argument.
Thank you. Let me say happy birthday to you, Kev. I didn't realize it was your birthday. My birthday is 7 more days ahead. So we happen to be in the same month. So we probably have some of the same tendencies. Sometimes people say I'm an alpha female. So I don't know. I'm just Jewel. But thank you for having me on this closing argument this evening. It will probably be my last conversation as outgoing vice president. And I'm honored to be given such a platform. And I want to say thank you and good evening to each one of you in my own special way, especially to Ben.
Thank you. It's good to see you, my vice president.
I guess you're familiar to everybody on the platform. I think, and beside, I think Lofa Julius. So we have Tomalin George, Lofa Julius, your own son Ben, your pastor Peabody. So I think you're familiar to everybody. But let's give you the chance to do your opening.
But let's just say that Lofa is from Lofa. He's the only man from Lofa that can speak series. That's why he need Lofa Julius.
But Ben, during the campaign, talking about Lofa, just on a light note, there was a team of 2 young men who actually did 2 or 3 beautiful songs in Loma. Hip-hop songs, talking about if you want hospitals, George, Weah is it, and it was a really jazzy song. I don't know if Lofa has heard it. We need to find it for him to hear. It was a really amazing addition to the normal songs that people sing during the campaign, and I enjoyed it. So, Lofa, nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you.
But I just want to say good evening to everyone again and to thank God first for the unique opportunity of service. As I sat in my office before I did my turnover notes yesterday, a lot of things went through my mind. coming home in 1995, 1996, becoming First Lady, and then Senator twice, and then Vice President. Someone said to me, you know, you're the first female in the world to come from First Lady to Senator and then to Vice President. So that should be a Guinness World Record, and we're laughing about it. But it's been an amazing, maybe 25 years of working. And I'm just grateful to God for allowing me such a wide platform with all of the media attention on politicians and all of the negativity you will find. I've been spared a lot. There will be a jab here and a jab there. But other than that, I think God has given me a period of impact, a period of seeing Liberia for what it is, for giving me an opportunity to love my country even more. And I'm a better person because of what has happened throughout my life. And so I'm grateful. And I want to say thank you to the press, the media houses across Liberia and across the world. I had a tough interview with Bloomberg a few weeks ago, talking about critical things. And it's just been an exciting 25 years. I look forward to much more.
Okay, thank you. We're going to be talking on different issues, but we're going to be going around with 2 questions each with a follow-up. But let me start with you. Say you did your turnover notes yesterday. But did you have turnover notes when you were taking over from the vice president, who is the president-elect?
Yes, the vice president then, outgoing vice president then, and let me take this time before I even start to say congratulations to the incoming president, Ambassador Joseph Nima Boykai, and the incoming vice president, Honorable Jeremiah Kuhn. But before I took over in 2018, I had an appointment to go and sit with him. It wasn't an unusual thing because as I served over the 12 years as Senator of Bond County, those interactions were many and they were constant. And so it seemed like a normal meeting between the two of us. And I wanted to just go and, seek his advice as I was going forward. And at the end, he handed me this book and said, these are my turnover notes for what I believe will help you in your journey. And he handed me this volume of documents. And when he left, I took time to read it, and I saw that it was very, very, very detailed about the things that had occurred during his tenure over a 12-year period. I don't know if this turning over in the office of the vice president had happened before. I'd never heard of it. So I believe, if history would judge me right, that the then Vice President Joseph Nima Boyka was the first to begin this tradition of handing over of notes from one vice president to the other. And I took that as a very serious symbol of not just transfer of authority, but of transparency and accountability, which I thought was very important. And so when my tenure came to an end, I knew that that tradition would be an important tradition to carry on. So I want to say that this is not my idea. It was an idea that I got from the then vice president, who has now become His Excellency President Joseph Nima Boykai.
Livy and MT Coffer, I think a story on Front Page Africa. Can you speak about that?
Well, the thing is, the newspapers in Monrovia are very sensational, and sometimes they just carry stories. And I was a little bit shocked when I saw that heading this morning, that I had left an empty coffer. And so I needed to correct it. When I took over as vice president, the budget year ran from July 1 to June 30th. And so by the time we took over in January of 2018, the last 6 months of the budget was still in place. at one point, I think over the last 3 years, the budget years have been changed to January 1 to December 31st. And we run a cash-based budget. You get an approved budget, but depending on what monies are available, you make a request, and if the monies are available, then they give it to you at the point when it is available. And so coming out of the whole process of campaigning and everything we went through, the budget for the country is not empty, because I believe Minister Samuel Twe was saying that there is money in the coffers at the national level, which will be used for some of the activities that would take place over the next few days. And so maybe they mistakenly understood the process of saying the office of the vice president held all of the monies for government, which is not the truth. I got monies based on my request and when it was available. And so I'm not leaving any empty coffers. The new government has an opportunity now to look at the budget. We didn't pass the budget, and the president tried to get the legislature back so that they would look at the budget for 2024. That wasn't done. So the incoming government in the next week will have a chance to, look at that budget and fine tune it for what they want for their plans and their programs. So unlike us, we were stuck with the balanced 6 months budget of the Ellen Sirleaf government. They're coming in fresh. They have a whole new opportunity to fine tune it to what their needs are. And so I'm not leaving the coffers empty. At the end of December 31st, whatever monies I did not use in the office of the vice president or was not presented to me remains in government, but not in my budget, because I received what I requested.
Thank you, Madam VP. I will now go to Dr. Henry Peabody for his 2 questions.
Vice President, it's so good to see you this evening. And once again, welcome to the closing argument. You look just strong and healthy in mind and body. So good to see you.
Thank you. The mind is not always what the face looks like, but it's the grace of God, and I'm grateful.
Amen. Amen.
Oh, you haven't seen me cry. You should ask Ben.
Yeah, but thank you so much, Madam VP. Thank you for graciously accepting our invitation to come on. You have served our country well. You have served as a first lady. You have served as senator. You have served as a humanitarian. You have served as first president. Just what have been some of your greatest achievements in this time?
In the last 6 years, I would like to think that one of the greatest impacts I've made is that I've transformed the office of the vice president from a mediocre, silent office to an office of an activist. And I think that would be a hard act to follow. But because I'm an activist and an advocate by nature, I brought that into the office of the vice president. And I know many times Ben would send me text messages, why you have to say that? Why are you doing that? But I mean, this is who I am. I hope all of those activities brought a little bit more of an open space in our governance structure and not something that is negative. I think the office of the vice president can be a very, very, very great help to the process of governing our nation. But for many years, 170 years, the office of the vice president was just silent. Very rarely would you hear anything from them. But I think the last 6 years were very, very, very active. I sent out press releases. I had press conferences. I spoke about anything that was happening at the time that I needed to add my voice to. So I think I've changed the dynamics of what the office of the vice president should be. But what has caught my attention over the past 6 years, and when I think about my tenure from being first lady to today, my greatest achievement is the impact I've made on the lives of young people across the country. Without knowing their names, without knowing who their parents were, without caring what counties they came from, without caring where they lived. Of course, if I found a group from a very depraved situation, I would go out of my way to even make life a little bit better for them. I'm still glad that I got in touch with the young girls that come from West Point, the girls that were part of the More Than Me scandal a few years ago. And today they are all at the University of Liberia, going to their first year of university. They've been transformed from just timid little girls that have been terrorized at the beginning of their lives into activists, strong. They're leaders in their own right. And I think that is a highlight for me over my career. And I'm just grateful to have had such an impact.
Vice President, you guys uh, ran a great campaign. Uh, Looking at the margin that you acquired the CDC uh, laws, what went wrong? What do you think happened? Why did you guys end up in the stage that you end up with such a very, very low margin? Why? What went wrong with your part?
And I'm still asking myself that question. Maybe it's the time for the tears to roll. But the fact of the matter is that I think we actually put our very best foot forward. I was involved at a very high level. I traveled across the length and breadth of Liberia to the nooks and cranny, carrying the messages, explaining issues, talking about some of the lies, trying to correct it. And if you had asked me at 2 days before the first round ended if we were winning, I would have said yes, indeed, we were winning. Howbeit, Liberia has now grown. The population is a little bit more aware. They're taking decisions based on many things. And I think what made us lose was the negative propaganda that was spread. Every time we would go through a particular area, by the time we left, there was a group that would go back and rehash some of the lies. And people weren't sure of what was going on. But I think the negativity was high on my list of why we lost the elections. And it's sad that most people listened to the lies and opted for a new opportunity to get new people on board. Howbeit, for love of country, we think the decisions taken by the majority, and I still think the country is divided almost in the middle, that you have maybe 49% of the population saying they would, support George Weah, and the other 49 point whatever would say they wanted a Joseph Boyka regime. The country has spoken. And I want to thank my president, His Excellency President George Manuel Weah, for making a decision that he felt was the right thing to secure the peace of our country. All of us weren't happy with it, but we understood why he took those decisions, with the threats of violence and all of the other things that seemed to be creeping into the body politics, and nobody wanted that. And so he took that decision, and we all followed through on it. Again, time will tell whether the decisions made in the 2023 elections were decisions to take our country to a better place or to leave it where it is. I always say elections and voting has consequences. And so we'll see how the next few years pan out. But I can tell you that I will be a statesperson involved in activities concerning women. I'm afraid that there may be, again, when we get into the next 2 weeks, an all-male government. That hasn't happened for a while. Madam Salif was president. I became vice president. But you might have a speaker and a president pro tempore, and the leadership of the country now, apart from the chief justice who has about another year left, we might actually end up with an all-male leadership. And I think it will be a tough environment for women. So I hope I'll continue to contribute to lifting the lives and empowering women across Liberia and across the continent, as I have done.
Thank you. Tomalin George.
It's good to see you again, Madam Vice President. It's always good to be in your company and to discuss issues of Liberia with you. I'll just go straight to the question. You are relatively young. I know, very young still, very young. I was just telling you before you came on the show, I said you still got more years to offer the country. And you have a very rich past. Former First Lady, former vice president, and from a standard bearer of a major political party, all of that. The next 6 years, as you just said, you will be involved with women activities, but will you be willing to accept an offer from the ECOWAS, the African Union, or the United Nations? Do you think you will have any interest in any of these organizations if they offer you an opportunity to serve?
I think it will give me a wider reach, because then my work is not just local in Liberia, it becomes a regional or a continental work. And I'll be looking forward to it. I've planned to put my resume out there and see what kind of opportunities can become available that will help me do more. I'm looking forward to that kind of a move.
Great. Okay, my next question. I know you said that you give your 10-over notes and so forth, but the incoming vice president, I'm sure he's watching this show right now. What would be your advice to him? Or advice, if you have a opportunity to give him advice as he come to that position, what would be an advice as a vice president that's leaving and so forth?
You know, Tomalin, I actually gave him the advice that my pastor gave him when we won the elections. And he was laughing. And I said to him, when we won the elections, Bishop Joseph Gardner Johnson came to visit me, and he says, "Me, I know you, and you like to move and push things. You must remember you are second in command and you are not first. You have to allow the president to lead." And I told him that is the only advice that I could give him, that office, regardless of what you come into it with, there has to always be a space that allows the president to lead. And that was my advice to him.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tomalin. Chairman Ben?
I'm sorry, I thought it was going to be Lofa. I thought we were going by the. So, Madam Vice President, thank you. And it's good to see you again. My question has to do with that night. We were privileged to be there with you. I think everybody on this screen but Lofa was there. What ran through your what was running through your mind, right? I mean, I can speak for myself. It was a moment of awe. It was a moment of history, right? Being in the room with the vice president and the president picking up that phone. In fact, you called the president-elect first, and told him that the president was trying to get in touch with him. I want to know, because like I clearly said, that was not what you guys expected. That was not the night you were looking forward to having, right? I want you to talk about that night. I want you to take the country in the room that night, right? And from your lens as vice president, looking at your boss, doing something that probably a lot of people didn't think was going to happen, because the country was very tense that day. There was all these rumors going around that George Weah was about to steal the election and the country was about to blow up and stuff like that. So I want you to talk about that evening, and what message and lesson do you think young people should take from that? That spirit of being a patriot, of knowing when to step aside when your time comes, right? I want you to talk about that.
Well, I can say to you, the first thing is I was in total shock, because we're all still hoping, as the Electoral Commission continued to slowly roll out the numbers back and forth. We're still hoping that somehow, as close as the numbers were, we would have managed to pass the 50+1 and come out victorious. And so when the president called and he spoke to me privately about his decision, and I said, "Chief, don't you think we should wait until the Election Commission is finished with his work?" And he said that the only thing about you, I'm quite here to ask you to tell me what to do. I've already made up my mind. There is too much at stake. And so at that point, I stepped back, because I'm sure he had more information at his fingertips than I did. And then he said that everyone else was waiting and we should go and join the group. And as I sat and listened to him making his statement as to why he had chosen to go this way, I was still in total shock. And I remember I got a chance to say thank you. And the words in my head were completely opposite of what I was saying. I knew I had to say the right thing. Because at that moment, like you say, it's history making. For the first time, maybe in the history of Liberia, a sitting president agreed, to step down and give peace a chance. And so for me, it was surreal. But I'm happy that I ended up saying the right things, saying yes to his decision, because again, the final decision was his as the head of state and head of our party. And so I supported his decision and I told him thank you. And I reminded him of some of the things we had gone through together, but that still Liberia was more important than any one individual or any one political party. And so today, I still think the right decisions were made. The temperature in the country within a few hours after that call was made just dissipated, and everybody was able to relax. All of the tension across the country, seemed to come down almost immediately. And his decision saved Liberia. And so I want to thank him again for seeing beyond all of us, because there were people crying and others wailing, in that kind of an emotional state. Who knows what would have happened? But he stuck to his guns and he said this was the right thing. Lessons learned. I think from my viewpoint, I can say that indeed Liberia has men and women who have the caliber, the characteristics, the integrity to know when to say yes and to know when to say no. And to wait if waiting is what is required. And President, we are proved all of the things he's continued to say, that he got involved in Liberia many, many, many years ago. And for him, it was, yes, he wanted to be president, but it was about doing the right thing. And I think that night gave him a place in the history of our country, in the history of our region, looking at the coups and the counter coups that are happening all across the region. It showed strength, it showed patriotism, it showed love for country before self. And I think that is a lesson that all of us can glean from, not just at the high political level, but in every area of our lives. That the issue of service has to be just that, service to those who you are engaged with or those who you represent. It should never be about you as an individual, because making that decision as an individual, maybe he would have made a different decision, but he took the best decision because he wanted a sustainable peace in Liberia, and this is what we have today, out of which we are now going to, in the next few weeks, turn over power from one government again to the next.
All right, thank you. And let me ask my second question. My second question has to do with, Tomini asked something similar, but I want to push it a little bit. You talk about the fact that you are going to explore opportunities in the region. You are a distinguished stateswoman now in Africa. I mean, I tell people this election result is even more about you guys conceding than about the other side winning. That's most of the thing people are talking about. What about politics? Right? What about politics? Like Tomini said, you're relatively young. Are you disengaging? You're still the leader of your party that is a part of the coalition. I know there's going to be a lot of discussions happening between now and the next couple of years. Are you hanging your boots up politically? Are you not interested in politics anymore? Are you now going to be Jewel, the stateswoman, who is going to be called upon to go monitor elections, and what are you going to do politically? Are you hanging your boots up? And then
No.
lastly, you said no. Okay, so you finished
Nah,
so you finished
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think someone asked me a question, why do you want to be president one day? And I said, do you think I've gone through all of this only to get to midpoint and say I'm turning around? And that is a flaw in my character. If I'm on a trajectory, as you know, it takes a bulldozer to turn me around. And I believe I can still impact my country in many ways. And I look forward to the new opportunities. Who knows? Again, we have to always know that God is the arbiter of our lives, and he makes the final decisions, because we all thought we're winning. God said, hey, no, you guys stop at this point. But I hope new opportunities will come around. Because we lost the elections, I now become the political leader of the National Patriotic Party, because the standard bearership is always given about a year before the presidential elections, with the hope that that standard bearer can stand up for elections either as president or vice president. So as the political leader of the National Patriotic Party in the first instance, there's a lot of work we need to do. We need to have new elections. A lot of the people at the different stages of the party have lost their tenure by the years we've not had our elections. We'll go through all of that. I don't know whether the MPP as a political party remains in a coalition, because the agreement that we had was that we'll go towards presidential elections, hoping that we would have won. So I think every political party will now go back in-house and determine how we go forward. The decision is not one party, because it's a collaboration of many parties. So every party now has to decide, hey, we're staying in this process. We'll reformat it. There were new laws put into place when we did the last agreements before the 2023 elections, where the leadership of the chairmanship of the party will rotate. So there are a lot of new things in the agreement that each party has to look at and agree as to what they want to do going forward. But I think I'm a political animal by nature, and I'm going to still remain engaged. And let's see, you never know.
Thank you. Keff, you muted.
Okay. Lofa Julius.
Oh, thank you, Madam Vice President. Great to share a platform with you. I think this is, in my mind, and everyone else on here, is historical for me personally to sit and engage the current Vice President of my country. I'm honored to serve in this capacity. Um, Quickly, I know the whole Lofa thing. I'm between auntie and uncle now, but we'll put that aside for now. Eventually, we'll get to the Lofa County part of it. My question to you, which of course Ben alluded to on the surface, but I'm going to be specific. You you made a statement regarding your desire in the near future to pursue the presidency. And in that light, I will want to say you serve as the first lady. Thank you. You also serve as a senator. Oh, thank you. And you also serve the second highest office in the country, as a vice president. What are some missteps that you may have experienced from your previous boss or in the process that you think as a president, if or when elected, you would do differently?
And my father always used to say, if you've never walked a mile in someone's shoes, you can never criticize, because you really don't know until you actually walk in those shoes. And so I don't want to criticize the decisions, because I may have had just a glimpse into some of the deep issues that we're attending under the presidency. What maybe the question would be, what would I have wanted to see? Closer collaboration, because I think there is much more you get out of everyone working together in sync than in the silos that we found ourselves. And early on, silos came into place that brought a lot of the inner wrangling that attended our government. And those inner wrangling went on into the electoral process. And at that point, it was a little tough to, stop. Some people were able to overcome it and say, hey, let's move forward. Others held on to it. And I think if we look at the fact that we may have lost these elections, if you were to ask me, what do I think the primary cause? People didn't see that unity that we had in 2017. In 2017, we moved as an opposition with one voice. The president would sit for hours listening to everyone. And we never voted on any issues. We came to a consensus. If it took 20 hours, we sat at that table for 20 hours. And for me, that was my conviction going into the presidency, that if we went into it consulting, the Bible says in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. Consulting everyone. And that was one thing that was missing in the governance structure. There were silos around the president for people had their own reasons. The Minister of State, and he's my friend and brother, we've gone beyond that. But as we speak about it, as lessons learned, it became a whole different story. People were ostracized by the decisions that he took. And at one point, you could say he became the prime minister for the country and decided who would be in and who would be out. But when we came together in 2017, everyone formed a part of that team. And mind you, there were only 2 political parties in 2017 until the second round. During the first round, it was MPP and CDC. And we worked, keeping in touch, listening to the voices of others, listening to the advices of others. But by the time we got into the presidency, some voices were more important than others. And like I said, I wasn't at the highest seat. But I think if we had consulted more, if we had kept united more, we probably won't be where we are today.
Great. You spoke of unity, I guess, on the side of your team, the CDC. Did you, in 2017, expect to come and serve as a unifier? If so, I want to paraphrase a statement that you made upon your ascendancy to the vice presidency. You visited our county, Bond County, and said the people should be a part of your team, and if they don't, then they will have no room. Can you speak to that? What was your mindset when you made that statement? Is that a statement of unity, or that may have appeared to be a little bit divisive? Just speak to that for me, please.
And some people saw it as being divisive. But I was speaking to partisans who had stuck with the 2 political parties since 2003, at least on our side. We had gotten out of power in 2003. We had been out of power for a long time. The CDC had tried over a 12-year period and also not gotten a chance to serve. Now you have a whole block of partisans from the Congress, no job opportunities, not involved in the governance structure on the side. You also have a structure of the MPP who had been in power before. We had gotten removed and we were outside of the process, except for the few who had gone to the legislature and won their seats. So you have these huge blocks of people. And some of the young men that joined us in 2005 when I attempted to run for Senate in the first instance had come. They were young people. They were now in their late 20s, early 30s. And we had all gone through this long, difficult process together. And so we win these elections. And I was speaking to them. And I said to them, this is our time. Looking at the hurt, looking at the lack, looking at the disadvantages that they had faced. Because I was senator, so I was in government. But I was one out of a million. There were many, many, many others who had not gotten that opportunity. And it was in that moment that I said, this is our time, and that we need to make sure that you guys get a job, you guys benefit from government, this is your time. It was not a statement intended to talk about corruption or mismanaging government. It was a signal that, hey, you stuck with us, you were patient, now this is your time. Because the issue was jobs, jobs, jobs. There were some people who felt the entire county structure that had been in place when Madam Salif took over in 2006 to 2017 should remain. And I said, no. If we have been on the outside for this long period of time, We now have to put our people in places where they too can work and feed their families. So it was in that moment that I spoke that statement. Some may think it was divisive, but again, you have to look at the environment I was in and who I was speaking to. It was not a general statement across the country. I was speaking to those young people who had finally, after a difficult period, won these elections under difficult circumstances in 2017. No one believed we would have won. So I wanted to reassure them that we're going into government, but whatever they deserve will come to them.
Okay. Thank you, Madam VP. Let me ask you this question before we go round again, because I think this is becoming interesting. But let me ask you this question in terms of the election. You supported maybe if I'm wrong, but you supported Mema Bridge and Johnny against the establishment choosing candidate. And don't you think it sent a mixed signal, even though the CDC won Bon County, because the first round it was higher, the second round the margin decreased. Don't you think it's a mixed signal that you sent, because you're talking about unity now within, but you went another way, the party went another way. Don't you think it's a mixed signal you send out there to the voters, and that cost us, or cost, sorry, don't say us, cost us. You know, I want to be, well, cost us, to lose vote in Bon County.
And at least we're ending our tenure now, and I think I can be a little bit more open about some of the issues. When you come to, Benjamin taught me an important lesson, and he said to me one day, many years ago, when I was running for my seat as senator,
Benjamin Sanvee,
the second time, Benjamin Sanvee, and he said to me, "Mom, politics is an exact science. It's not emotion. It's not what you think or what you feel." And that made me step back a little bit. You know, at that time, we're going into 2014. He says, depending on the dynamics on the field, if you do your assessment, you can actually gauge where you will be and what you need to do if you want to win. And that was a lesson that I learned in 2014. And so coming in 2017, when we went through the process, again, we came in as the underdog. No one expected us to win. But what happened in Bon County particularly was those of us who were stakeholders in Bon County were giving the mandate to go and win Bon County, first and second round. No games played, no interference. 2023, things changed. A lot of interference. People who didn't even come from Bon County felt they could go and tell you what to do and what not to do. But anybody who knows me, and I know a lot of them are watching tonight, I would always have my say. And I took time to talk to the chairman of the party. I took time to talk to all of the party leaders. I said I had been going to Bon County a year before the elections, talking to all of the stakeholders. And if I was not sure of anything, I was assured by the consultations I had done before the elections, a year before, that Johnny Bay would be senator and that Mwema Briggs would be reelected. And so I took that back to the party as information. And they said, oh, you know, Johnny Bay now with the party. I say, we are making concessions in other counties. There's some places we didn't put up any candidates. I said, so if you guys are not sure where Johnny Bay stands, then let's not put up a candidate because he will win. Same thing with Honorable Mwema Briggs. I had meetings on top of meetings with the women leaders across Sarala district. And they were gung-ho that she was their leader. And even if CDC refused to support her, they would take a decision to support Mwema Briggs and not support the presidency. So those were the warnings that I had gotten early on. And so I took that to the party. I know many times I had long conversations with the pro tem. The speaker had come to my office several times. I spoke to the chairman of the party. I spoke to everyone. Howbeit, even when we were about to do the nominations for across the country, including Bong, no one asked my opinion. I just heard people were going to Bong County to do nominations for those who would run. Of course, I ran to the president. I ran to Molo. I spoke to everyone. Oh, and they started to play games. Not the president, because he wasn't involved in the nomination process. But I felt he should know what was going on. And all he said to me was, you are go and work with the children and staff. Come up to me. There's too much going on. I'm trying to, make sure other things are done. So go talk to the county chair. The chairpersons of the parties and the different structures, which I did. And nobody paid me any attention. The nominations in Bong County were done behind my back. I had no idea. Yet I had been asked to lead the county. By the time the decisions were taken at different levels, and what I knew was going to happen against what we had done, again, in my usual way, I told them, this is what's going to happen. When my Briggs will win a seat, Johnny Bay will be senator. And so it became another bone of contention, pulling back and forth. When I became senator in 2005, I made one promise to the people of Bong County that I've tried to keep because I'm human. I said to them, I will always listen to what they had to say, and I will always follow their advice. And that if they ever called at any point of my career, if I was called to say, stop what you are doing and come to Bong County, I've always done that. And so it was based on that kind of a relationship that I felt very strongly about the issues. The day the president was traveling through Bong County, and Salala district is the first district, and I went to Moema's house myself because I had been told, we'll support Moema, we won't put anybody up. So I had gone to the district, picked her up in my car, and took her to the rally. So you can only understand the feelings I had when the statements were made that we'll be supporting another person, and then Moema was sitting on that stage. She felt betrayed, as if I had set her up. By the time the rally was over and the president went to the next stop, I had to go back with Moema to Salala. Everyone was in an uproar. All of the women. You betrayed us. And it was a whole wahala. In the end, I told him I was sorry that what had happened, but not with my knowledge and acquiescence. But it was politics. There are some people in the political party structure that had higher voices than I did, and I guess those were the people whose voices the president heard, because I know I had raised it with him also about the issue of Moema Briggs. Howbeit, this is why I felt we lost in some of the instances. We could have gotten more in Bong County. You can imagine if we had, even if we said, okay, we're not going to support Johnny Behe and just leave Bong County senatorial seat like that, that young man won with almost 80,000 votes. At the first ballot, Bong County was done. Before you add the votes from Honorable Moema Briggs, we'd have won the presidency on the first ballot. So I felt we shortchanged ourselves by taking a decision that was not in the interest of the party. And being the person I am, I knew that they would have won, especially when it comes to Honorable Briggs. We have worked together for many years. She's an ally and a sister. So there was no way I could go, and I'm always talking about women. Everywhere I go, women empowerment, women political this, women this. Do you know what that would have done to me as an activist and an advocate, to go on a stage where there was one woman in the political process and go against her because the party said they wanted to support someone else? I couldn't do that. My entire career, everything I have said, everything I've done, everything I've spoken about, we have been in tatters in a second. So at that point, I had to think personal, and I said, there's no way I can withdraw from this process, because then everything else I have ever said over the 25 years of my life would have been a lie, and I was not prepared to put it up for someone that I knew would not have won. So that's the choice I took. Some people may say, and they will usually say, well, I'm not party discipline. You know, they said that to me many times. But then, like I said, politics is an exact science. If you just take a little bit of time to look at what was happening, we would have made some other decisions. 2 years before, I had asked Chairman Molu to let's have an independent team go across the country and do an assessment. Because by the time you get into the electoral process, friends will come, you know, brothers will come. Oh, we can win, we can win. It doesn't mean anything. But we didn't do that assessment. Or if it was done, I didn't see the reports of it. If we had done that independent assessment without any interference and gotten a clean bill from across the country, we would have known who would have won in certain areas. We would have known where to put our support. We would have known where to withdraw our support. And then it wouldn't have become like a personal thing only because I know someone. No, it would have been a political decision based on statistics. And I don't think we did that well.
Thank you. So, sound like you didn't go the party structure. But let me ask
no, in those 2 instances, I didn't.
You didn't. Okay. Let me ask you this. My second question before the guys come in. I listened to, maybe I stand to be corrected. It sound like you want to seek the highest and office. Are you, at this moment, are you leaving the CDC?
Well, the thing is, I think the political parties have to make a decision. And I've been clamoring for a meeting. Molo, I've written him many notes. Let's meet. Let's talk. Let's find out where we are. You know, of all of the thousands of young people that followed us throughout the campaign, we've not yet spoken to those young people to say thank you. We didn't win, but thank you. Thank you for standing there. As we traveled, I saw young people with fire on their feet, fire in their voices, prepared to go the lengths and breadth of our country to give President Weah a second term. The party has spoken in small instances here and there, but we haven't had a meeting. We haven't spoken as a union. So I don't know what's going to happen to that union without talking and discussing ways forward. I don't know what's going to happen. And right now, we are no longer in power, but we still have an agreement with some of the political parties. The MPP, the CDC, and the LPDP are the core political parties in the union. And we have not even had a meeting amongst ourselves to say, hey, this is where we are. Let's go forward. That hasn't happened yet. So as an individual, I don't know what to say. I'm hoping sooner than later that those meetings will begin so that we can begin to see which way we're going. This is a movement. This is not about an individual. It's a movement. And I think in order to take this movement to the next level, those discussions must take place, and they haven't yet.
So as a quick follow-up, the NPP concerned a meeting. If no meeting, the NPP on our way out.
That's not what I'm saying. Each party will have to make up its mind, but I think the agreement that we have binds us. But the agreement was tied into us winning the elections. We have not won. Where are we going? That conversation has to take place so that each political party across that table can look each other in the eye and say, hey, this is where we are. This is where we made mistakes. How can we fix it? If we can't fix it, what are we doing? So it has to be a collective decision, and MPP will not take a decision individually. But if those meetings are not called by the political hierarchy, that means the chairman of the party, who is Chairman Molu, and the other stakeholders, if those meetings are not called, who knows? Maybe 2 months from now, somebody else will say they're no longer there. Another party will say, I'm no longer there. So it might become more difficult. I'm so hoping, against all hope, that the political party structure that is in place will call that meeting. There's nothing we can run away from. We've already lost. Where do we put our act together? Where do we, see where the future lies for that situation? If it's going to go forward, okay. If it's not, what are we going to do? So those are the questions I'm thinking about, and I hope an environment will be provided where we have an opportunity to talk about it at the party level and take some decisions. Because not taking a decision is also a decision. So we said we're going to go to win at the presidency. We haven't won. If no one calls, it's like you go and you and your wife are in a discussion about divorce, and the divorce hasn't taken place, but there's no discussion. One person is going left, the other person is going right. By the time 1 year passes, it's definitely not going to a divorce, because the conversations that should take place, the mending of the issues that have caused the break haven't been discussed. There's no meeting of the minds. Then you know the divorce is going to take place. So I'm hoping after all of the struggles that we don't go that way, but that decision is not up to me. I'm not the leader of the party. I'm just second. And the political party structure has an actual imprint of who should be doing what. And I hope that Chairman Moba Molu and others will begin to think about where we go. We cannot ignore the situation that we're in. We have to deal with it. If we don't deal with it, who knows?
Thank you. Dr. Peabody.
Madam Vice President, prior to taking over, you had a rough start with this government. You had a very rough start. In fact, there were a lot of things. You had no direct contact to the president. Uh, People did not allow you to see him when communication was to be. You, I remember a situation where you even traveled to the mansion. You were going on a trip, and you were denied from seeing the president. And it appeared it was a very difficult start. I think it was just into the second or third year that probably uh, you're able to mend your differences and all of that. Did it ever improve? Uh, 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 did the communication, because it appears that the lack of communication made a lot of things to go bad within the government, the citizen.
And I think you're right. That disunity actually ate into the fabric of our government. And if I would look back, I would say that was the hardest part for me. Um, as a woman, we like to talk. We talk about everything, our children, our husbands, our day, whatever is happening, we don't want to talk about it, unlike how men operate. And so I always wanted an opportunity to talk about some of the things that were happening. And I always say, President, I have never had an argument, face-to-face argument, never. But I believe at certain points in time, I was blocked. I was no longer part of the team. In 2016 and 2017, I was a part of the team. We sat at a round table together, we discussed. He would ask me at the end of everybody's conversation, oh, Deputy SB, what you say? And he would listen to whatever craziness I had to say. If it impacted positively, then I got the day. If it didn't, then someone else got the day. But I always had a chance to speak my mind. I still think if you looked across the round table that we sat in with all of the political party leaders, I still had the most experience coming from 1997, to where we were. And I had seen quite a lot. But I was blocked in many ways of not having that kind of access that I thought I would have had because of the whims and caprices of others. Howbeit, I tried my very best. I got involved in some of the things I wanted to do, and I moved on. When we got closer to the electoral process, we had to come together to work. And so we went on the campaign trail, and I supported the president. I had opportunities to say what I thought, but I don't think the value that I brought to the table was a value that was highly considered, and I think that is my disappointment.
Yeah, my second question, Madam Vice President, is the issue of sanctions. We saw about 7 officials of government, from senator to minister, being sanctioned. Different reasons. We saw the city mayor Jefferson Kochi being sanctioned, and all only within this government. We did not see that during President Lee's government. Only President Weah, one of the highest number, being sanctioned. It said that they you guys did not get the message to DC. Others were going with messages and putting this government down and saying things, and it appears that the government was just mute about all this that was going on. They did not, like the other day we had a very good friend, Larry Kennedy, and Mr. Kennedy talked to.
Peabody, I don't think she can hear you.
Can you hear me?
She signaled something like that. She
Okay,
can't hear
can
you.
you hear me?
You
Okay.
got to let her go.
Wait,
Huh?
hold on. I think she in the back.
And then we can bring her back in. Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear us now?
No, she got to leave completely. Have her leave completely. Shut the app and come back on. Leave complete. Don't just keep her in the back.
I think something going on with her mic, maybe.
Have her leave
I hear,
completely.
I hear
Yeah,
there's a
Ben, can you go in the back and take care of it?
I hear there's a power outage in Monrovia, so that could be.
No,
Not-
she's not.
She's muted. She's muted. But she still got to leave completely
Yeah.
because she got a call. She got a call while she was on the show, so she got to get up completely. And then come back.
Yeah. Okay. That's that's.
So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna kick her out. And then
Yeah. You can.
okay, then she can come back later. I just kick her out. So let her come back.
Lofa, yeah, you would say that, and just do that, and
You want me play
no,
the video?
that's
The video?
that's fine. Just do what you gotta do, and
And
What
she
about
come
the
back,
video?
and you can bring her back in. Yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
Can we play the video while she's coming in? While we wait for her to come in?
Hold on. Which one of the video do you have there?
Second one. The second one. The second one.
Okay, well, okay. I will introduce that. Let's wait a little bit.
Okay.
Let's wait a little bit. Hey guys, so far, what you guys made of the first round of welcome to the show, Robert, and the first round of interview from Tommy George. What you hear so far?
Well,
Was that the Peabody first two questions?
No, Peabody.
I got one more question.
Guys, yo, let's wait.
No, I'm just asking. I want to see how they.
Yeah, I understand that. That's where when she come back, that Peabody will continue.
I know. I'm just asking. Was that his first two questions? Throughout the interview, was that his very first?
No, the show been going on, Robert. You late?
No. Okay.
You late?
Right.
He asked me that show been going on. You late?
All right.
But she coming on.
yeah, so far we're having a very frank and honest conversation, open conversation with her, and these conversations are very healthy. Especially there are a lot of rumors out there, a lot of misinformation, perception out there about what's happened behind the scene and so forth. And I think the vice president is answering the questions, and she's been open-minded and
Very honest. Yeah.
to be answered. She's answering the questions. People get to know what's really happening in the background, what happened in the election, what some of the missteps and so forth, her political future. And I think she's really holding her turf. And
Okay, she at the back. I think let's just bring on. Continue that to Peabody. You can hear us now.
You can hear me now.
Yes, everything's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, I was born before computers now, so the whole thing is so now you can check us some kind of way.
Yeah, I would say that one of the thing is, folks were saying that information was really not being disseminated in DC. I mean, the folks will come up and write and say things and testify before Congress, and there was nothing really done for this government to really present the case. In the case of the harmonization, it was not something that was initiated by this government. It was actually the IMF who came up with it. But then the information did not get out there right. There were not a lot of publicity placed on it. For that reason, the people took it against the government, said the government was cutting the money, but actually it was not the government. The government was placed on a special plan. Why do you think all communication was not flowing like DC or having people who could actually represent them in DC?
And I think when I left us off, we're talking something about sanctions, but I think we'll just stick with. I'm sure that question will come back up. The issue of interactions between our government and DC, from what I know about, is that there were people who had access to get that kind of a work done. And the issue wasn't in DC as much as it was in Liberia with the misinformation amongst our people. But the fact is, we did our best. I know during the campaign, I was clear. Everywhere I went, I would try to clarify the issues. But I guess the misinformation overwhelmed all of us. And it is what it is. You can only look back and say, hey, this is where we've come. How do we go forward?
All right, that's my second question.
That was okay. Somebody judge.
Madam Vice President, quite since the election of the incoming administration, there have been talks about this thing about audit. It's all year audit, and so forth. I'm sure that since the elections are in November and in November, I'm very sure you and the president you guys have been meeting, and all the members of your government. There's a transitional team that was put in place, and the president carried on the process, leading to inauguration. How can you defend your government when it comes to this issue? We're talking about audit, and you have NN fear or NN concern that the incoming administration you think they're going to find something, as they are just people are saying that, oh, audit. You have how do you feel when you hear all of these news are coming up?
You know, for me, the Liberian community at home, we talk about a lot of things. An incoming government, for example, has a right to say, let's audit the government. It is their right. What we should be doing is making sure all of the information that we need is in place. Like, for example, the front page Africa article that came up this morning, the office of the vice president leaves the coffers empty. I've tried during my career to always handle the situation that comes up. If you don't, it becomes an issue. By the time the second and third day goes by, people have fixed in their minds that it is the truth. An audit could be done if that is the wish of the incoming government. I think we've done our best. The transitional notes that I heard the president talk about at our meetings was that everybody should put their documents together and make sure things are online. And so if every agency would do that, then we'll take it from there. There are a lot of rumors in Liberia. I remember when the former ambassador to the U.S. ambassador to Liberia visited the Saudis. I was in the Saudis at the same time, campaigning. And he came through and he got back to Monrovia and made this blanket statement that the U.S. has spent a lot of funds in Liberia and they couldn't see anything. And I had an argument with, some of the others on the other side. And I said to them, most of what the U.S. brings goes to their own program. USAID runs its own program. The drug program that we have with the Ministry of Health is run by, certain NGOs. I said, so for someone to just make a blanket statement without clarifying where the information was coming from or what particularly they were talking about, then it's something that spreads a blanket over everyone, and I didn't think it was fair. Happily, a month or so later, he came back on and said he was emotional. Remember, just before he left, that was an emotional statement, and he didn't make it in good faith or whatever the words he used at the time. But by that time, the entire country has soaked in their hearts that the government had mismanaged every opportunity that we got. And that carried also through the campaign. You have to stand for hours and explain, no, it's not this, it's not that, it's not the other thing. But by the time the negative information is already given out, it makes it difficult to really go back in and correct it. And I think that is something we'll keep facing. I believe coming in, they will have their own plans and programs An audit is something that must take place. All of the information provided must be given, and someone must look through the documents to see what has happened. There was a situation in Mangibi, I believe, of the the Mangibi health team. Some corruption issues came up, and an assessment was done, and the report was given. But when the information came out initially, they didn't talk about the Mangibi health team. Mind you, all of the health teams across the country are somehow autonomous. But who's the first name that they called? Or the Minister of Health. They feel you do all the money from Kakata. So everybody may believe, that this is where we are, but it might not be the truth. So let's see how this will go. I believe, if that's the way they want to go, no one can stop them from doing it. And I think it is their right. So let's see what President Joseph Boyka will want to do. There are a lot of rumors about many things, but the final decisions will be his. And I think we have systems in place that can do an audit of government and tell you exactly what happened and what didn't.
Oh, okay. Now, I know, like you say, you'll be active and so forth. That's a good news to hear. That, as I said, you relatively stay young and got a lot to offer the country and Africa and our world. So that's good to hear.
Thank you.
Okay, man. But Madam VP, if you guys had to do it over, this whole process over, what are some of the things that you think you're gonna say we fell short and we could have done this better? Like, for instance, you think you would like to play a more role where you have been involved in the appointments of officials of government, or maybe getting involved with reshuffling of the cabinet sometimes, or so forth. What role you think you would have brought if you are given opportunity, and think that if you have opportunity to do it again better?
And I would like to take that question from a different angle, because the Constitution is clear of the responsibilities of the presidency. And I think it would be disingenuous on my part for me to say I would have liked to get involved in who got appointed and who didn't. Of course, all of us had our interests and we wanted our people hired, but in the end, the final decisions were taken by the president. But I believe one thing that we could have done better: information dissemination. I just sent a video to Ben, and I think Keff got a copy of it. When I finally put that video together, it was at the second round. Many people didn't believe the issues we were talking about as you go across the country. Or they're fixing the road from Robertsport to Medina. Nobody believed it except those who live in Robertsport. Or they built this beautiful hospital in Bapolu. I remember we were on Spoon TV, and I don't know who was on that show the last time I appeared on Spoon. And we were talking about some of the issues, and I was saying our government has done very well. And I was talking about some of the positive things we had done. And Stanton kept saying, that is not true, until I started to send pictures. I sent so many pictures that someone called and said, text me and said, okay, let it be so now. I said, no, but let's look at the issues here. We can't make blanket statements like that. I think we didn't do well in our information dissemination. That a lot of the work that the president had done, and in the next 2 years, you'll see a lot of that coming to pass. The hospitals that are being built across the Southeast, all of the skills and vocational training institutions that have been completed and furnished, and the teachers have come back from training that are ready now to start teaching our young children to learn skills so they become more marketable. All of the different things that we didn't do well in transmitting that information to the population. And that's why there was a lot of people kept thinking, oh, someone is faking here. I went somewhere in the Southeast, and a young man said, that not true. It's not happening here. I have to take out the picture and say, here it is right here. Until people saw the sports parks being built, until people saw the hospital in Bapolu, until people saw the roads from Banga to Salaye, until people saw that you can now go from Ganta all the way almost to Logwato. The road is now, you can go and come back in a few hours. It used to take days. So until people saw physically what we were talking about, if you didn't live in that area, you may not have believed it. That was another thing that undermined our elections. that by the time we got ready to talk about the real stories about all of the positive things that government had done, we're already in the throes of dealing with the fact that people didn't believe a lot of it. People blame President Weah for Kush. And I said to a young man, have you checked Kush in LA or Kush in New York? Check and see what's happening. This is a pandemic around the world. But our government has put money in the budget. We've now created 6 detox centers. They are available, but you have to carry yourself. We're not picking people from the street and forcing them, because then you're not doing what it takes. You must walk into the center and say, I want to be cured. So it took the president to go and visit. I think on the video I sent to Keff this morning, he's actually interviewing some of the young people who said they have been on drugs since 1995, and this is the first time they've walked into a center and they were being taken care of. But I think we didn't do well to sell our story, and that was a negative. If you were to ask me what would we do better, is that we'll sell the positive stories of the many, many, many positive things that President Weah did over the 6-year period.
Okay. Lofa, I don't know, before we go to the next person, can we just play at least 1 minute of that video that the vice president talking about? Yeah, can we just play one or 2 minutes of that video? No, not this one. Not this one. Not this one.
We will because what did the vice president?
Not this one. Lofa, not this one.
Then it's not there, like I told you.
Okay.
Okay, so excuse me.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, just mute yourself from the back. Okay, just mute yourself. Okay, let's go ahead, Lofa, with your question.
Well, again, Madam Vice President, you spoke of audit. I want to go back to the issue of audit. Prior to your ascendancy to the vice presidency, you served as a senator, and then you became the president of the Senate. My question: when was the last time the House was ever audited? When was the last time you had any audit done at the House?
I don't think in the last 40 or 50 years the House has ever been audited. I don't think there's ever been an audit of the legislature. If it has been, then maybe in the 70s. I don't think there has ever been one. However, the GSC, the Auditing Commission of the government, is involved in constant audits. They have audit reports from far back as 2006 and 7 and 8 on the executive branch. So the executive branch has a lot of audits that have taken place, social development fund audits and different things. I don't think the legislature has been audited. I don't think the judiciary has been audited. But the executive in bits and pieces has been audited.
Thank you. Considering that you said almost 40 years, the House is yet to be audited. And part of that 40 years would be part of your tenure when you were at the House as well, serving as a senator, and then you had the opportunity to serve as a vice president. Why didn't you push for audit for based on the issue of transparency or accountability? Why didn't you push the idea of audit and considering that one will consider the House to be the breaking point of Liberia governance? The House is the major problem for good governance. It is often said, and excuse me, not to be a little bit lengthy with my question here, it is often said that a lot of the brown envelopes are pushed through the House, but we don't see any audit. And dating back to 40 years, do you have any regrets? And why didn't you push for that level of transparency and accountability?
And there is a system of governance that we have in our country that provides 3 branches of government, right? The executive branch that is always on the hot seat, because they're implementing an implementing arm of government. The legislature is the watchdog. We should be following up to make sure that the plans and programs that government has in place are actually implemented. Over the last few years when Madam Salif took over, there was an issue of county development funds that the legislature provided direct oversight over. And it takes an entire system to agree to audit. It's not something an individual would do. My work as a senator, I wasn't on the audit committee. However, nothing stops the GSC or the LACC from deciding that they will come and audit different branches of government. It is in their ambit. So I think if you go back to when Madam Salif was president, when Honorable Nyenwolo served as Auditor General, remember the harsh statements that came out. At one point, he even resigned. I remember he had said at one point that that government was 10 times more corrupt than any other government in the history of Liberia. I don't know what he saw. There were no reports that were released. It was just a statement. Maybe as he comes back into government, he will clarify that point. But again, it is the responsibility of the GSC and the LACC to make sure these audits are done by statute and by legislation. And so I think it is their responsibility. As a senator, one person can say, like sometimes Darius Dillon will get up and talk about some of the issues in the Senate. It's not going to make any difference until the people who are responsible make it their responsibility. The president himself could not have said, go and audit the legislature. It is not his work. The GSC and the LACC, it's their work. They must now get the political wherewithal to go and say, hey, we want to audit you. Nobody has gone to say, let's audit the legislature. I think if someone had come to say they wanted the legislature audited, you will be forced to provide the information that you have, because it is a statutory responsibility that the legislature gave to those two agencies. So I think the question goes back to those who have been head of those two entities, why they have not audited the legislature. But I don't think even in the Turbo years, or forget Todman, from the Turbo years coming all the way down, no one has ever done any audit in the judiciary or in the legislature. And it's a point of concern as we grow and we develop as a nation, as our governance system improves. Now you have a whole new team of LACC commissioners. We hope they now have a law that provides that they can go and do an audit and by their own reasoning, take that audit report directly to the court, bypassing the Ministry of Justice, because the initial law said, go to the Ministry of Justice, and after 3 months, if the Ministry of Justice does not take the case to court, then you can take it to court. But they kept complaining, oh, the Justice Ministry isn't giving them an opportunity. They now have that opportunity today, and they are tenured. So we'll see what they do. Again, it's the responsibility of agencies to do certain things, and I think everybody must play their part.
Okay. And finally, I think I got one more, right, Kev? Is that right?
That's the second question. No, you already
Okay. I thought the first one was just, intro, but anyway, good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Ben.
Oh, I thought it was Robert. Oh, okay. Let me.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, Robert just came, so let him ask. Since I can go after him.
Let me say, Madam VP, this is Robert. He one of the panelists. He was running late. We're expert in tourism. That's one of our strongest. So go ahead, Robert.
Ben is such a diplomat. Ben, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to throw one or two questions in there. I appreciate that. But,
and Ben should be last anyway.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
he's part of the family. So
and you should ask him. He got some answers. So maybe some time was why you were talking. Robert, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I think we met a few years ago through my brother Ben Sanvee for the first time. I think it was 4 years ago, and we had a brief chat, and it was great meeting you, and it's also great interacting with you. I was shocked when you said that your government have put together or have 6 detox centers for our young folks that are affected by coach and drugs. I was shocked because this is the first time I'm hearing this. And throughout the campaign, there was this fierce discussion about what the Ellen-led government did with regards to fighting drugs, as opposed to what for 12 years, as opposed to what your government did for 6 years to fighting drugs. And so I think that the conversation about the information dissemination and the message have been discussed. So I'll leave that at is. But I was shocked that this is my first time hearing this. But I
And
wanted to.
before you go on, Kev has a video that I sent him this morning. Maybe after the show, let him send it to everyone. There's actually a portion of there showing President we are in at the Mangibi Detox Center, interacting with these young people and asking them how they got on drugs and them explaining what they had gone through. Now the detox center are attached to the county health hospitals because it's easier for them to manage, with the drugs and all of that to manage them. But they're actually really nice centers. They're fed 3 times a day, according to the young people there. They have DSTV, they're watching TV because they're inside, they're not let outside. Once you come into the center, you're not let out. So I think it was an amazing thing, but we didn't get a chance to. I'm happy the president visited one because then you actually see it as opposed to just having someone say, yes, we're doing it and there's no proof. So
Thank you for that. But I wanted to ask you this question. The word watched President we are graciously concede even before the final results were announced, and I commended him for that. And I think the entire world thought that we've led with regards to what the essence of true democracy. But I wanted to know, because I wasn't in that room. I wasn't privileged like Ben and Tomalin and the other guys who were in that room. I wanted to know, were you consulted prior to that call being made, and what was it like?
yes, I was consulted. The president had called me before we went into the general meeting to tell me the decision that he thought was the best decision to maintain the peace and to not allow any blood to be shed on the streets of Liberia because of an election. And I thought he made the right decision.
Thank you. Another question I want to ask you, which would be my last question before we move to the next. You as senator, I think submitted, and I stand corrected. You can correct me if I'm not accurate, but I think you submitted a bill that you submitted a bill that basically said that Christianity would be a state religion and that all Christian holidays would be a national holiday and things like that. And I think a lot of Muslims were not happy about that. There were different narratives about what that bill actually meant and what were some of your intent. I remember in the 2017 elections, a lot of Muslims were not happy about that. There were people who were saying, well, Muslims should not vote for politicians that have advocated for Liberia being a Christian state. Now, I've also watched your close relationships with a lot of the Muslim community generally, and I've had conversations with some of them. But I just wanted to give you an opportunity because we watched the recent election. The biggest political party consisted of Muslims did not endorse CDC. Those CDC got a lot of vote from the Muslim community as well. What was that? What was the goal of that bill, and what did you really mean by that?
And there are 2 issues. The first issue is, what did I submit? My name is Joe Howard. My father's name is Howard. My maiden name is Howard, and my married name is Taylor. I don't care where I go or what I do. If you're looking at me as an individual, you have to take consideration of the Taylor name that has become a name of you when I got married. You take consideration of the Howard name that is my father's name, but you also take consideration of my mother's name that is Giddens. So I'm a combination of these 3 families. Same for Liberia. And the misunderstanding again was that what I said was that we should put down in the 1986 Constitution the foundational information concerning how our country came to be was removed. And I thought it was a travesty of justice. And I continue to advocate for that. Luckily for us, Madam Salif, there was a huge safe somewhere in the mansion that hadn't been opened for years. Finally, she asked them to open it, and the original constitution, the original declaration for Liberia were in that safe. And I think it's now being put in a secured location. But I didn't rest until I got a copy of the original bill. And it says, Liberia is founded on Christian principles, but it will allow freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom of interactions, and blah, 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 it goes on. In the 1986 Constitution, that entire thing was removed. And my conversation was, you have now taken away the essence of what Liberia is, because we were founded on Christian principles. But did we say Christianity was the religion for Liberia? No, that's not what those words say. It says, though we were founded on Christian principles, we allow freedom of religion and blah, blah, blah. Now, there will always be someone who would come and try to, change the thought of what you were saying. And people said I wanted to bring in Christianity as a state religion, which was not the truth. Those are some of the misconceptions that pervade in our societies. And if you're not careful, people are hurt or damaged because of a lie. So that first thing was not the way it was. And if you would ask me today, I would still say, if an individual is a combination of all of his parentage and his marriage, so is a nation. And Liberia was founded on Christian principles. And thankfully, it said Christian principles, but that it allowed freedom of religion. Now, when you talk about the fact of my relationship with the Muslims, long before I became a lawmaker as First Lady, I always tried to go and help people who were marginalized. So I know the Muslim community has always been a marginalized community. And so my work began there, providing scholarship, building some of their schools. With anything I did, I would make sure that that segment of our community was included. I would consult with them. And so the Muslims and I have a very, very, very good relationship. I think President Weah took this to a higher level because for the first time in our nation's history, he actually had a Christian advisor and a Muslim religious advisor. He engaged the Muslims at very, 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 very different higher levels across the country. Everywhere you visit, they will tell you he's done this for them, he's done that for them, he's done the other thing. I think he's the first president that has been so engaged with the Islamic community. I would like to say that I was disappointed that with that kind of a seat at the table, that in the last moments, a bulk of them decided that they would go and give their vote to someone else. And again, the politics is over. It's just talking about the issues. I look forward to them receiving the same kind of treatment that President Weah gave them. But mind you, after 25 or 26 presidents, he was the first one that lifted that religious body to that high level that we've never seen before. So I think he brought them to a level of engagement. He brought them to a high level of interactions. At different levels, he traveled with them. He made sure they went to Mecca. There was a lot of work that he did with the Muslim community. I don't know why the leaders decided to go the other way. And maybe one day they will answer that question for themselves. But I think they did a disservice to the work that he had done with them. But again, this is politics.
Will you support a Muslim holiday?
And I think the world is gone in such a way that every marginalized group wants acknowledgement. They want to be able to do what they want. Now, mind you, in the last few years, President, we are actually, I don't know if it's de facto or de jure, because one is by law and one is by fact. President, we are in fact provided that Muslim holiday. Every year he would do an executive order and say all the Muslims working in government should take the time off to go and celebrate. So by fact, they had gotten that holiday. And I didn't have an issue with that.
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah.
With me?
Yeah. It's going to be a time, Ben.
For
After
the video?
Huh?
Oh,
No,
sorry.
no. After this, yeah, we're working on that video in the back. Well, after this, we'll go to the Bonkante fire disaster. There's a lot of things being said about you, Madam VP, and you have opportunity to
At the banana tree now.
to clear the air. Well, Mr. Sanvee, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Let me. I want to talk about something that I know you are deeply passionate about. And sometimes I get, and I do get frustrated when I see people give you a lot of flack for it, because I know how, you tend to go the extra mile when it comes to the issue of women and girls, right? I remember when you became vice president, for the record, I was one of the people who argued that you shouldn't open your foundation. I said, you should shut. In fact, your foundation had been open all these years. And I was one of the people who said, well, you vice president, I think you should let the foundation wait. When you leave the vice presidency, then you get back to the foundation. But your argument was, if I close this foundation down, or if I just temporarily put a lid on it, what happened to all the people who on scholarship? What happened to all the girls? And what happened to all the different programs that we're doing? The reason I ask you that is because, like I said, I have heard people give you a lot of flack on the issue of women, the rape in the country, and all of these different things. I want you to talk about your work with women and girls, and what drives you. Why are you driven with this issue of women and girls to the extent that, like I said, you have a stamp. You talk about the More Than Mean Girls. You talk about all these different areas you have provided intervention. I want you to talk a little bit more about that. That's my first question, then I'll come back with my second one.
And let me tell you what drove me to this point. During the few years I was First Lady, the war came to Monrovia. And all of the citizens across the country ended up in school buildings and church buildings all over the city. And I started going from displaced camp to displaced camp. Every month I would visit everyone. And I realized that women and girls were the most marginalized. They went through hell. And I couldn't get that thought out of my mind. And then I looked back at my life and I realized that my father had 7 girls and 1 boy. And he was trying to have more boys, first 3 girls, then 1 boy. And then he decided, okay, I'm having boys now. Maybe God will give me 3 boys. And he had 3 more girls. And he decided that if he would just pay attention to the 1 boy, who knows what we would have become. So he worked 3 jobs to make sure we got a decent education. And because of the empowerment that he gave to each of us in my generation, each of us, my siblings and I, are at the best at what we do in the different fields that we've chosen. So I know the girl child is the center of everything. And if she's empowered, the family and the next generation is secured. And so when I saw in 1999, 2000, 2001, all of the things happening to women and children in those displaced camps, the only thing I came to believe was that if given the opportunities, they could be me or be more than me. And so I decided I would begin to work with providing empowerment, leadership, mentorship, and scholarship for girls. I'm still backlashed for the fact that I don't do a lot of young men. And an ambassador asked me, all these girls that you are preparing, who are they going to marry? And I didn't have an answer. And the truth was, if you continue to do girls, the boys will be left behind, and a lot of them are on drugs. A lot of them are disadvantaged. And the only thing I could tell him as a chick was that, well, I can't do everybody, so I will do the girls. Let somebody else come do the boys. But the fact of the matter is that if we're talking about development, sustained development, if we're talking about equality, if we're talking about equity, if we're talking about everybody bringing their best foot forward to help us build the Liberia of our dreams, then everybody must have an opportunity, and the girls usually don't. When I became senator and we started to travel around the country, girls weren't going to school. If a family had money to send one child to school, the boy would go and the girl would be left behind, married off at 13 years old, and that would be her life. So across the country, the issue of girls' education was almost non-existent. And the fathers would say, oh, I'm not wasting my money here, man, because she would marry somebody and go to somebody else's house, not knowing that if she was empowered, that house becomes stronger. And so it became a commitment of mine in whatever way I could to help. And I like the More Than Me story because it draws to the heart of the work that I do. The issue of More Than Me started in Madam Salif's tenure. Jessica, the girl who had come to put up this organization called More Than Me, and I'm not sure if that is her name, but she came to Katie. And so she came to Liberia and went to West Point to find a coordinator. And that coordinator decided that he would sleep either with the mothers or with the daughters in order to put them on the scholarship. He ended up with HIV and AIDS, and the whole thing blew up. He went to jail, and he died in jail. But these girls get to 9th grade. The school had just stopped at 9th grade, and their lives would have gone right back to West Point. And they invited me to speak at their graduation. And when I walked into the room, everybody burst into tears. Mothers were crying. These little girls were crying. What are we going to do? Katie is no longer allowed to come to Liberia. The NGO has been canceled. We have no life. And one little girl said to me, and it's you guys who raised our expectations. We'd have stayed where we were. You know, once you're not aware of something, then it doesn't matter. But when you become aware of it, then it's a whole different story. So she said, you guys raised our expectation, and we've now gotten out of West Point. We come to school on Ashmore Street every day, and we go back. So you mean to tell me after 9th grade, we'll go back to West Point, and that's where our lives will end? They will marry us off and will not finish school? And without thinking, I said, no, I would never let that happen to you. And that's how I got involved with the group there. So I know in my heart that for every girl that is empowered, when you see those girls, the transformation, I took and sent them to Rick's Institute, one of our higher institutions of learning. And just the transformation in those 3 years totally transformed those girls from the girls from West Point. When they said that the girls from West Point now is pride, because, hey, I'm from West Point, but I'm not in West Point. I may have been born in West Point, but I'm now a cogent part of the society, bringing what God had given me to make an example or to make a difference in my world. And so just that transformation, and it's not just there, it's across the country. Bapolu and Grand Cru and Lofa. I mean, across the country, we have, like I said, almost 3,000 something girls across the country. And I know what I've seen. There are girls that are now finished with the university. The foundation has brought out auditors and doctors and administrators. 2025 will be our 25th year anniversary. And what we hope to do is to bring as many as has gone through that process to showcase what that work has done. And I think it will be at that stage that people will actually see the level of work that has been done over the years to give them an opportunity. I have a young girl working in my office named Masa. She comes from Bong. I didn't even know she was from Bong. I don't know the girls. I don't go and pick people. I just say those who want an opportunity step up. And whenever they step up, every year the money gets higher and higher and higher, because once you go into an environment and you find more girls, you can't tell them no. So we keep adding. But this one little girl went from 7th grade to the university. She graduated, and she had gotten a scholarship to my office to go to China with the agreement with the Chinese government to send girls to school. And she wanted to say thank you to me, and she would come to my gate every day and stand there. I would come home late, and the security people would tell her, oh, she's not here, she's not here. So one day my car was almost into the gate, and she ran and fell in front of the car. We almost ran over her. So the driver stopped, and the security people got her. Why your problem? Why your problem? She said they were send me to school for 2nd grade to a university. I'm not leaving this country until I tell her thank you. I mean, I was just blown out of my mind. I'd never seen her before. I didn't know who she was. I didn't even know she came from Bom. And her graduation was like 2 days away. She said, I had to see her. If I had to sleep here tonight, I was going to sleep here tonight just to say thank you. So I told her, when you finish graduating, come to my office, you have a job. It's after she came to my office and said she's from Bai district in Bong County. Had no idea. But I know that in each of these instances, we've raised new leaders in different fields of study. And it's strengthening our country, because we must look at any country who has 50% of its population fully engaged and the other 50% not engaged. I think that country has failed. 50% when I was going to school is failing. So if you do not bring the other 50%, that includes the energies, the vision, the direction, all of the positive things that women bring to the table, if we don't bring them on board, we'll continue to fail in our development and all of the other things that we want to do. It's about equity. It's about each person coming and bringing their best to the table. And I believe that's the legacy I want to see, that I was a change maker, making strong women leaders who have been or will be able in the future to be a part of the building blocks of our country. And so that is what drives me crazy at night, trying to figure out how to continue, how to ensure that the work that we've started 20-something years ago doesn't die. And so when Benjamin said, your vice president shut this down, I said, no, I'm not. And we argued about that. Thankfully, I didn't. You can imagine if I hadn't had that to keep me busy, I would have been totally crazy.
Thank you. All right, Kev, let's go to the thing.
Yeah, let's go to the thing. Ben, next time, don't give wrong advice.
No, listen. No. You see, you read it. Let me tell you the context I was coming from. I was coming from the context that people were going to say, and listen, we did hear it to her. She knows, you right? I was coming from the context that people were going to say, oh, she vice president and she got foundation and she using her office, right? Oh. So I said to her, I said, maybe you need to, put it on. But her argument was, listen, I know that's what y'all would do in America, but these girls don't have that they don't have that leverage for me to say, oh, I'm shutting it down, because what's going to happen? And like she said, I think in hindsight, I'm glad that you kept it open, because I have seen some of the girls. I see the center that you built. I see the things that you continue to do. So, thank you, but yeah, it wasn't a wrong advice, Mr. Kev, because you ready for me now.
Lofa, can you play that video that you wanted to play first, this one? We're going to that first video you want to play. We'll come back to this one. Or you know what?
Maybe moving the other one.
Let's listen to this.
You say you want the one.
Yeah, let's listen to this.
Okay. I don't mind Kev, man. Kev just giving you hard time.
Kev can give me hard.
Since the inception of his presidency in 2018, President George Nyenwolo has made great strides in all sectors of the country, including health, education, youth development, gender and social protection, macroeconomic stability and growth, energy, infrastructure, agriculture, forestry, among others. On infrastructure and roads, the Wiyatela-led administration succeeded in building more than 233 kilometers of primary roads connecting Ganta to Hapo, by paved road construction of more than 160 kilometers of urban community roads, commencement of construction of the RIA highway, as well as construction of work on more than 620 kilometers of primary and urban roads, among others. This administration has also built several new government offices, National Port Authority, Liberia Petroleum Refinery Company, LPRC, Maritime, NAFA, etc. As it is often said, the healthier the citizens of a country, the more effective the workforce, the better the health of their children, the fewer births, and hence the fewer dependents. This applies to the achievements on the health sector by the Wiyatela government. The following are some of the achievements: construction of the 14 military hospital and 8 hospitals in Southeast Liberia, including Bapulu and the Redemption Hospital. About education, under the leadership of President Weah, winds of change swept through the nation's education system, leading to a remarkable transformation that remains unparalleled in the nation's history. The following are some of the key achievements. Free public college education that benefits 10,000 Liberians every year. Free WAS that benefits more than 40,000 students yearly. Started the building of 28 high schools and 18 early childhood schools. Gave 3,500 supplementary teachers permanent teacher status, and digitization of the University of Liberia and its registration process. The Weah Tillot administration on youth development, gender and social protection constructed the Invincible Park and renovated all major sports parks in the country.
We have three different things coming together here. You have the outdoor gymnasium that was borrowed from Senegal. We have the beach grandstand that was taken from Equatorial Guinea, and then the boardwalk that you see here is something my boss, the president, His Excellency George Manawia himself is the architect of what we are doing here, because I feel very good. I feel calm. Because the whole player, people play, we need to put here and now we see a view. We happy for the press. So many a time people are tore up. All the people that are there on social media, they are here in Europe, in Dubai, in Liberia. And so the only name Mulasaka like us. The president has told us that you will be the first group of people that will enter here. And as you can see for yourself, we are happy to enjoy this immediately. And here in the normal. I feel very excited, I feel very proud, and I'm overwhelmed because actually, since I really opened my eyes in Monrovia, the president is the first president that brought this kind of development.
Renovated SKD Stadium for honoring US 3 million when the Unity Party used US 20 million. Invested in TVET in 6 counties and expanded to all 15 counties. Invested at least 1 million for transforming abridged youths.
We are 19 boys, 1 girl, we are 20 in here. And the maintenance in here, they are really taking care of us. I can't lie to you. I've been going other areas, I've been seeing other things. But for years, I don't know one we are here cheap, but see my body. We are taking good care of us. We bathe anytime we want to bathe. We eat 3 times a day. We eat good food here. As you are here today, the children, they are you from the Are You Ready? They said they want for you to please help out with 3 things in your life. And you will see changes. They say they need business, they need shelter, and they need good health care.
The step to change your life is when you be committed in doing what needs to be done for your life to be better. Just talk about business. Choose yoga wisdom to the TVET. We'll do our best to see how you can get small businesses, which is important. But again, do not go back to drugs. Say no to drugs. Finish. When you promise no more drugs, you're not promising me. Neither the doctor, people that are taking care of you. Promise yourself.
Invested in sexual gender-based violence roadmap and establishing a task force and call center. Improve reporting on rape cases, which is mistaken for an increase in rape cases, and build trust with traditional leaders on female genital mutilation. For agriculture and forestry, the CDC administration provided agricultural grants to up to 60,000 farmers, completed more than 200 kilometers of feeder roads to strengthen agriculture, and placed Liberia's forest reserves at the center of the climate change agenda.
Madam VP, we're seeing all the greatness, a lot of good things happening under this government. The question is why? Why the Liberian people choose to go back, like the president always said, people who destroy it, and you're fixing it. Why?
I wish I had an answer for that. I'm still dancing with that in my mind. I really don't know. And maybe time will tell. But I don't have a straight answer.
Wow. Well, let's go around on this video, guys. Let me start with you, Dr. Peabody. 2 minutes on the video.
Madam Vice President, there was a great video, but it appears that there was no message out there. My question is, do you believe that people within your party were dishonest to each other in terms of getting message out there, in terms of distributing the resources allocated for the election? Do you think folks were, because here's a video that, if communicated well, would have really grabbed the mind of the Liberian people, because you see all that work. You see the military hospital, you see Bapo Hospital, you see roads and other areas, but it seemed like nobody knew what was going on.
And that was a project out of my office with the frustration I felt, after the first round. Because whenever I would travel and I would say it's happening here, people would say, "Oh, man, what y'all talking?" So I came and I said, "No, we got to put this shit together so people can see." So I think maybe we took it for granted that people knew what was happening. And I don't know, but if we had really, in that video, when we did it first, was about an hour. And my office kept arguing. Nobody would listen to a video for 1 hour. You have to make it short. So we have to really just, pick and choose some of the highlights and get it out. But then the second round was just, like 2 weeks, and we didn't have time to get it to the counties. And so it just a little bit too late.
Was resources limited? Did you guys not get the funding that you needed?
Time.
Okay.
Time. By the time I got the video out, there was a young man who had a video truck, and I think he made it only to Bong, because he put the video on and he went to some of the villages to showcase what we had done. But I think time just caught up with us. We should have. Madam Salif did very well with her PR during her tenure. Anytime there was something done, she would do those big billboards and send it all around the country. She didn't take anything for granted. She got on the radio many times to explain to the people what was happening, good or bad. If there was something she had to take responsibility for, she said, "Well, I did this, I'm responsible, let's move forward." But we didn't take that whole idea of information dissemination to the level that Madam Salif did. And I think, like I said, that was our greatest disadvantage, because we didn't tell that story that we should have. It's a beautiful story. And I still think that we did a lot with it, with the period, and the fact that we had COVID and all of that, in the 6-year period, still being able to do some really serious work, fundamental work, but we didn't sell that story.
Okay. At least I will stick to the 2 minute, 30-second, guys, quick. I want to talk about the fire stuff quick in Bong County, but quick, and the VP got to go. Time. So let us do 30-second quick. Tomalin, just quick 30-second on that video.
Well, the VP showed that video speaks. I mean, it speaks of what she said earlier. The failure to disseminate information, to sell the market, what the government did and everything, to tell a story to Liberian people about what they did for in office. Yes, that is alone. It tells all. So But mine, my 30 second, I'll use it this way. Madam VP, I know it was some take league of you, but as you lead the stage as vice president, people are saying that Madam Salih, she's going into retirement now. So now we look on the national stage for who's that female progressive firebrand we have, who's going to occupy that space right now. Will you be you're still active in politics? Will you be you're going to opposition a few weeks from now? Will you be a silent opposition? Will you just be someone who just wait on the election time, or what? Will you be that opposition that will be that firebrand opposition that you have your own style, and you well rounded, former senator, former first lady, former vice president, so you come with a lot to carry. How will you, what will you be in the next 6 years? That's only for advocacy, or will you see things happening in the government and you say, well, you be silent or what? Well, tell us before you take leave of us. Thank you.
I want to say that I think the new government deserves a honeymoon period. We didn't get a chance to do that, but I think it's only fair that they get the honeymoon period. I will still be actively involved in a lot of issues, but constructively. I don't think mine or being in the opposition means I should be against everything the government does. Even when Madam Salih was president, I wasn't that kind of an opposition. I would talk about some of the things and find a way to fix it if I could, and give suggestions on the way forward, not just criticizing to criticize. I think the CDC government was criticized. There was a machinery put in place at the very beginning to criticize everything, even if it was good for the people. The whole issue of the free wax and the free tuition, what kind of impact that has made on the lives of young people. Now the numbers going to the university and other training centers have quadrupled over the country. So education is now becoming basic for everyone. But even that, people will say, oh, where are they getting the money from? I mean, the fact is that when you're a government, you make a plan and you fund it. And that's what President Weah did during his term. Sir, somebody might come and say, we tried to get that bill passed a whole year before the campaign. No one would ever dare. You put it on the Senate floor, there will be another issue. Opposition will be raising issues. And I think this was good for Liberia. And when Madam Salih was in power, if something was good for Liberia, I supported it, because I knew it would set a foundation to build a better Liberia. So I'm going to give the incoming government that leverage, because I think they need it. It's going to take a few months to put government in place and have all of those people confirmed. It's going to take a while to, I don't know if they've even come up with their program. What is it they're going to do for the next 6 years? I haven't seen it. I hope after inauguration that will come up as to their plan of action for the next 6 years. So we need to give them that space. I wouldn't be an opposition just because I want to be an opposition. And I will be active, but I will also continue to contribute in a positive way. This is my country. I have nowhere else to go. My children live here. I want to live here in peace. So I think all of us need to continue to contribute in a positive way. If something is wrong, we talk about it and maybe give suggestions on the way forward. So we're just not criticizing because we need to criticize. And that kind of opposition, I don't know how to be. But I'm not going to harass anybody. I don't think people in government need harassment. They need ideas. They need support. And I think if we do that, our country gets better and not bitter.
Okay.
Can I go?
Okay.
Yeah, you can come.
30 seconds, Ben.
30 seconds. Kev, you really managing the time today. I mean, it's amazing. It's moderating today. But let me say, I'm listening to you, and there's some people who will say, "Damn, you guys are really nice." This is really nice. The fact that you're ready to give your opposition their honeymoon period. Why they didn't do it for you? But like you said, it's about Liberia, right? So my last question, because like Kev said, you have to take leave. When you talk about the issue of governance, when you talk about all of the things that are, the things that were in that video, all the things that you guys talked about, would you say, like you said before, would you re-emphasize that you guys allowed the opposition to define the narrative, and you guys were just playing catch up?
And I think that's what happened. Somehow we maybe took a lot of it for granted. And it sometimes used to be deja vu for me when something would happen and I would think, this has happened before. Same thing President Taylor did. Things would come up. You were the youth advisor, and people would gather around President Taylor and say, forget that thing, man. After all, we are a sovereign country. It mean nothing. Not knowing people are building a story. And this is what we let go, and we let people build stories upon stories. By the time you got an opportunity to answer it, people's minds were already set. So we let the opposition define us. We're always reactive instead of being positive.
Well, sorry, Kev. So you said that. Now, what about the bread and butter issues? What about the fact that people say, listen, people are suffering in the country. All of what you've seen in that video. What do you? Because one of the things that I feel that the CDC didn't do well, and we've had a discussion many times. I pushed you a lot of times on this, and even when we supported you in the second round, it was something I said on the radio. I feel that the government, or I feel that the propaganda arm of the government was not acknowledging the pain in the country. That there was this assumption that we're doing all of these things, we're building all these parks, we've paid wire fees, but at the end of the day, the bread and butter issues, Madam Vice President, is real, right? The people, there's a notion that people are not going to eat the park, right? What about
Ben,
that?
You have to look at the reality, and I think like you said earlier, the opposition defined the process, and we didn't do anything about it. Let's look at agriculture. The agricultural sector is the easiest sector for any government. If you want rapid development and put money in the pockets of people, agriculture. The agriculture minister went out and she found a lot of support. Today, there are farmers across the country that are planting and doing all kinds of amazing things. There are some programs that were funded by the World Bank or other people who put money in the pockets of farmers. There's a chain of farmers across the country that provide support to the school feeding program. That was another way of keeping kids in school because, children would stay hungry all day, and then maybe in the evening when the parents come from the farm, then everybody eat. So to get that one meal, children had to go to school. So parents were forced to send children to school. So it helped us get children into school, but also to be able to buy the produce from the farmers. Once your farm products, whether it's cassava or whatever is made, your money gets right on your mobile money, on your telephone. I went to a farm to visit. They were doing cassava. And there was an old lady sitting there, maybe 80 years old, very old, sitting under the umbrella watching the people work. So I asked her, I said, so what are you doing here? She said, oh, working. I said, but your age, why are you here? She said, oh, my son working for me. So I said, when you get paid, how do you get paid? She said, oh, they send my mobile money on my phone. So since I'm the person that's on the list of the farmers here, I get the money. And when I get paid, then I pay him. Because I can't do all of the work because I'm old. So he's not working. He's finishing with high school. He can't find a job. So he has joined us. Across the country, Ben. You saw the farming tools, the seeds, all kinds of things are happening. The agricultural sector is growing and developing. But people kept looking at this, the war years, when people would bring free food, free milk, free this, free that, free the other thing. All the young generation from, 1989 to when Madam Salif left was under the regime of providing humanitarian support to our country. A lot of humanitarian support came to Liberia. By the time we took over, all of that stopped. Even payment of salaries, and the nurses and the healthcare professionals, again, it's politics. They didn't do us well. Because when we took over, there was a meeting held and we were told all of the NGOs that were paying nurses and doctors would stop their payment. And the president asked in that meeting, oh, y'all can get 1 year, sir? They said, no, you guys out of the woods. It's taking you after 74 years, you now have a smooth transfer of power. You are a democratic country. You should be able to pick it up from there. And they stopped a lot of those programs. So immediately, President Weah had to start paying nurses and doctors. Immediately. He could have said these people were being paid by the NGOs. Let them wait. But they were already in the healthcare system. You know what it would have cost to say, let everybody sit down, it would take time to bring them on board. He said, no, y'all add it to the payroll. Y'all go find money from wherever we have to stop, we have to stop it. These people cannot be taken off the payroll. These were some of the critical decisions that the president took. But who knew it? In the end, they gathered together across the country and said, oh, because we harmonized them. The healthcare profession was not harmonized. In fact, President, we are increased salaries for healthcare workers. Nobody was making less than $200. Before, when we took over, people were making $50. There was a minimum wage now that the healthcare workers got. However, we got paid into parts. 80% was US dollar, 20% was the Liberian dollar. Now the Liberian dollar was pegged to the US dollar. So every month your Liberian dollar will be different based on the rate. So somebody said, oh, you know, I'm not getting my correct Liberian dollar. Every month my money changing. You try to explain it no way. So I asked the woman, I said, how about your US? She said, no, I won't. All right. I worry about the Liberian dollar. The US was 80% of your payroll. Only the 20%. Oh, every month, $200 will be left. $200 this will be cut off. I said, because of the rate. But if we had time to explain all of that from the beginning, we would not have the backlash that we ended up with. So I believe that the narrative, and that's what oppositions do. I mean, I'm not going to be that kind of an opposition because I don't think it board good for our country. And we were actually falling into real serious problems with all of the negativity happening around. Things were really gone off tangent. But because of the character of President, we are calm. He doesn't let anything get to him. You know, a lot of things will fly. You say, let it be so, you know, all that kind of things. But I think we didn't give the story of the successes of President George Manuel Weah. And those who are responsible at whatever levels must take the responsibility for it. That's why I decided at an early stage to go around the country. Because when I saw people who call me from Sinopo, who call me from different places, what happening here? What going on here? What not doing here? So I said, but it's not right. Oh, let me go around the country and see. The president had gone around the country, but I took time when I went on those meetings. I had hours with the young people. I stayed for hours talking to the women. I stayed for hours talking to the old people, you know, just to get a feel and be able to give them information because I realized there was a disconnect and that people were not sure what was happening except what was happening in their own area. So I think that was our Achilles heel. But there's a lot of good things that President Weah did over the past 6 years, and you never miss the water until the well runs dry. So let's see how it goes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Robert.
Thank you. This will be my final question because I've got to go after.
Yeah,
but Madam VP, it's so great talking to you. But I have to say, I think you did an excellent job tonight, basically outlining the successes. Though there were challenges, the successes of your administration under President George Weah, but we did not see this kind of information sharing. I mean, you talk about time. The fact that your office had to put together a concise campaign ad, you know, very, very informative, just basically outlining what you did. You had the opposition in DC. You had oppositions on radios, basically telling voters what you didn't do, areas you failed at. Look, there were many challenges. You talk about, you know, let's look campaign strategy, information sharing, messaging. But I have to say this: I did not see a president who was reluctant. I did not see a president who took anything for granted, including his population. I saw a president who campaigned under the rain. I saw a president who said, you know what, I will be out there telling Liberians about what I did. Do you think that those you trusted to disseminate information, those who were paid thousands of dollars in the information department, it's time to take responsibility, Madam Vice President. Do you think they did not do your administration justice? Do you think they ate free lunch and did not get the job done? Because clearly they did not get the job done. We did not see these videos. We did not see Simon Twell on this program talking about economic issues. We did not see people from the health department outlining all of these successes, the hospitals. We did not see these things. Did they eat free lunch, and should they be ashamed of themselves?
Lessons learned.
You're so diplomatic, Madam Vice President. I
mean, what can I say? We are all sad that we've lost these elections. And when you look back, when you're looking back at hindsight, and my mother used to say, the only dog you don't want in your house is the one that said, if I had known. Because by the time you're saying, if I had known, then you're already lost. And this is where we are. So there's no need to to beat the stick until everybody dies. But I think we've all learned a lesson in governance. This was the first time. I mean, I had been in government before, but a lot of the young people who came on board was the first time working in government. Everybody had their ups and downs, and we didn't do well on the information dissemination. I believe if we had from the get-go, in my office, I have a young man who follows me everywhere I go. And as I'm speaking, it's on YouTube. So by the time you add, I tell Benjamin, just go back to that place and find it there. You'll see what I've done there. Even when they came about with the lies that I had not gone to the county to visit and I didn't care, which was not the truth. You know, so all I had to do was to send Keff call me. He said, but what's going on with the bunker? You haven't been there, Ben call. You know, I said, I've gone to the county. This is what I've done. And thank God there was this young man who follows me everywhere. If you go and check my YouTube channel, all of the time, everywhere I went, I made sure, because you will forget. Maybe sometimes something will happen and you will forget to or you will not remember where you were or what you really said. But I carried him because I wanted people to see, you know, the kind of work I was doing. And somehow we missed it. And that's the truth. We missed this boat on this one, but it's lessons learned.
Okay, 10 seconds, Lofa, because I want us to play that Bon County tape quick. And
how you reducing Lofa time?
Yeah, again, 10 seconds. 10 seconds quick.
It's okay. Today's Keff's birthday, so let me give him.
That was flower. Yeah, I think.
Let me give him a little bit of birthday pass. You know, actually, with the video that was just played, I think it was great. Everybody already said it. I think you guys missed the opportunity to really present the Liberian, because I was, and I remain one of your critics. And Ben Sanvee will tell you, everybody on here, I criticize the CDC government more than you can imagine, and I will continue that with the upcoming government. Unfortunately, I'm not going to.
You coming here? I can't call you back.
Well, yeah, we can say it that way too. Yes, but I won't give them any honeymoon time, because there are Liberians who need opportunity, and I think we have been literally pushed far behind. We need to catch up with other countries, so we don't have honeymoon time. We have time to catch up. But with that said, I want to give you the opportunity, learning from the past where you did not do yourself due diligence. I want to give you this opportunity. Sell us 3 legislative accomplishments from the past on yourself that people just don't recognize, something that you did, and hopefully we can learn
as
from
an individual.
When you were senator,
as an individual,
yes, just list 3 accomplishments that we can take from here today. Just 3.
But let me talk about the one thing that is important is the fact that I crafted and pushed through the legislature a law giving the National Traditional Council autonomy. There are laws that from the Tomalin years. And we always say they are our fathers, they are the owners of the land. But there was no respect because they didn't have anything. And so when I had some conversations and they kept saying, we need our own budget, we need our own autonomy so that we can rise to the level where we're not beggars. Because if you're begging, then you're not a leader. So that was one of the major legislation that I passed. The second one was working with Senator Nelson and Senator Mabutu Nimpa to pass the laws that created the community colleges across the country. The Bon County Technical College was the first one. And our intent was to make those community colleges a part of the University of Liberia framework, because we wanted to ensure that the standards were the same, but then they would have provided an environment where you would have 30,000 young people on Fendel campus. And you would take each county, maybe Nima would be the mining engineering sector, so that the community college in Nima County would have become, the mining and engineering college. So that if you wanted to do mining and engineering, you would go to that Nima site. Tomalin University, they have a very good health program. They will become the place for health. But each county would take one segment so that the children would be able to be spread across the country. So that was something that we worked on. The third thing was the Social Development Fund. When we had conversations with Madam Salif, our issues were, whenever you went home, you were asked to, if a zinc is moved by the wind of a school building, you got to fix it. If you go to a place, there are no chairs, they expect you to fix it. So the lawmakers were now asked for so many things. And it's not possible from the small salary. When we started off, our salary was $1,000 United States dollars for many years. I went into my second term as senator before our salaries went to $10,000. So it took 9 years to get to that point. And we felt that instead of, okay, the executive branch, because they actually implement, always get the kudos. Oh, thank you to the president for this. Thank you to the president for that. But the legislature has to allocate the money. The legislature has to put in place the laws and all of the different things that the legislature does. But in the end, because the president actually completes the work, then they give him all the kudos. But when you go home now, anything that's not done, you're forced to do it. So we came up with this idea, and Senator Nelson and I and Senator Nimba and one or two other persons said, let's do, and I came up with the name, the County Development Fund. So you don't wait for all of the money to go into one basket. Before it's divided, it's a long time. So if you have a company in your area, let 30% of that money go to the county to help jumpstart development at the local level. That was a very important part of the process. As a member of the Judiciary Committee, we worked on the Code of Conduct. That was another thing that took years. The whole Code of Conduct, Senator Nelson and I, and then Alex Tyler and others from the House of Representatives. In fact, I had to go and stand in front of the Senate to defend it when the other people from the outsiders came in, like from the Association of Lawyers. Everybody came to vet that whole bill. And then I worked on the National Election Commission laws, the new ones. And I had to go back and forth verifying and justifying what those laws were. Because the chairman, who was Senator Chiru, who's now passed, said, I'd like to talk. So he said, once you finish doing all the underground work and doing all of the research, she's the only one who is clothed with the information to answer the question. So we'll put her up front. So that's how I became talkative like I am today. You know, my mother would say, who is that jewel on that screen? I don't know who she was. Ask Ben. I couldn't even talk when I was first lady. By the time you tell me here, I start crying straight. But being pushed into the fire provided me with that opportunity. So being on that Judiciary Committee, there were many significant bills I wrote myself and then passed to the legislature.
You're like me. We don't like talking.
I've learned to talk now that I can't stop.
Right. If
so she will talk too much. But I wasn't like that just 25 years ago. As first lady, you won't get a word out of me. Yes, no, maybe.
You just start writing your book, Madam VP. Start writing your book.
Okay,
I think since I don't have a regular job now, I think I will consider trying to think about it. There are many things. So I don't know what I would say all or some, but we'll start talking about it.
Woman can talk. Woman can talk.
No, they said man can talk.
I didn't that. Woman can talk. Yeah.
Well, let's play this quick. You can use that as your closing, Madam VP. You know, thank you for coming.
And I want to say something before we close, please. I want to take the time this evening before we close to say thank you to the people of Liberia, to the women, to the young girls, to the media, who has been very kind to me, and to thank all of you for giving me an opportunity to get my voice on such a platform and to be able to add my voice to the debate across my country. I will forever be grateful. Not many people have this opportunity that I have had. And I want to thank Ben for always saying, you have to come in and explain what you are talking about. And it's been an amazing 6 years. It's been an amazing 25 years. But I'm so grateful. But 2023 will always stand out in my memory as the most memorable one, because I was in the field and I saw how energetic and excited the young people were. Those who had gone to school for free, those who had their wax fees paid, and the impact it had on the families. I also want to end by thanking His Excellency, President George Manenwea, for offering me a unique opportunity to become the first female vice president of my country. That's history making. The first president of the Senate, because he chose me to be his partner. It's been a challenging 6 years, but I'm always grateful that had he not seen something in me and said, join me on this journey, I wouldn't be here today. I remain forever grateful to you, sir. May God bless you in the next term of your life, whatever your decisions are as we go forward. I want to say to you, thank you for Liberia. Thank you for the women of Liberia. Liberia will remember you, and history will tell this story one day of how you positively impacted the lives of people, and you impacted our lives. I'm better because of the last 6 years. I'm stronger. Thank you, sir. I'm grateful. Thank you to everybody.
Wow.
So do you do?
Well, yeah. Then when she leaves, we can play the video. Yeah.
The bond count. But just say something about the bond.
Yeah, the bond counting thing.
That's
you
what,
know, the bond counting thing was a tragedy for me because again, these are my people. I come from the third largest tribe in the country, so whether it's Bong or wherever Bong counted people are, but this was a tragedy that should not have happened. A tanker of gas, turned over, and people should have not been in that tanker. And unfortunately, young people, even young children, happened to be around. The fire left the tanker and went across the street. Houses across the street got burned. Then it went down the street. Other houses along the other side got burned. So it was really a tragedy. And I'm sorry to the families. I got a chance to meet with them severally. And then at the general meeting where we were discussing funds for everybody to make their contribution. I haven't made mine yet. I pledged it. I will try to get that done. I want to thank His Excellency, incoming President Joseph Neiman Boykai, for going to visit, for sitting with the families, and for making the huge donation that he made to help the families who are now grieving as a result of their loss. Again, it's Liberia. It could have happened anywhere, but I'm so sorry for what has happened. We hope that too is a lesson learned for all of our people, that an incident like this should not occur again on our soil.
So one last question. What are you going to do the moment January 22nd, your turnover power? Are you going to drive? When the last time you drove, Seth? I mean, I don't even remember the last time you've driven a car.
The last time I drove you guys as first lady in New York when I was a driver.
I was in New York, yeah. So that was the last time you drove in a car. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But as first lady, I would drive every now and then. But it was
I remember that.
But since I became senator, I've not driven a vehicle. And so I was talking to someone that was saying, so what is the protocol for January 22nd?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's going to happen
I still didn't know.
What are you going to do after?
The security officer said we get dressed and we go to the program. And then after the inauguration, everybody follows the new people. And then we have to get in our cars and come home. So I'm like, okay, so who's coming with me? So I'm asking my posse, who's coming? They say, I'm not coming. I won't call Nizu. I'm not coming. Me, I will be crying. Oh, we're not following you there. I said, so I got to call Benjamin to come go with me to the January 22nd. How do I go by myself? Then I said, but I know who I will call. Then they say, who? I said, Reverend Joseph Cartier Johnson. He will be my partner that day, because a lot of guests will be there. Maybe I will only get 1 or 2 seats. So I said, so y'all let me go to the place by myself and come out by myself. I said, but wherever you're drinking a beer, now the place are coming straight right after that thing. I can't join us so we can drink beer for the first time in all these years. So I mean, it's gonna be a tough day. I don't think it's gonna be an easy day. Looking at the fact that we didn't plan it, it wasn't a 12-year reign, and you're ending your tenure, on a high note. We've been short-circuited. So I don't know what President Weah will be doing, but when we come from that place, I'm going straight to the place where Lisa, they will be drinking a beer. I go sit down there on the street. That's what we do. So don't come call me and tell me, that will be a fighting. You cannot do that. I am now a regular person. After 25 years, I will be happy to go sit down on the street, put on my short trousers and drink some beer.
Madam Vice President.
Vice President, thank you so much for coming on the closing argument. The whole country listen to you, Nimba, Bong, everywhere they listen to you. We're getting the feedback that everywhere.
But I won't say something to the Bong and the people make care. I forgot that part. Let me make small flower, man.
Go ahead.
When I saw the voice coming from the southeast, I felt too jealous. I said the Southeasterners proved that George Weah was their son, man. From county to county to county. And I spent hours and days and weeks and months in Bong County. we won, but I mean, I think that we have done a little bit better. Well, I always say you never miss the water till the well won't dry. Somebody called me the other day, oh, my vice president, so you come to do the one. I said, no, y'all got a male vice president. You don't call me. Inside your thing. I will decide what sphere I will work in according to what I'm able to do. So Bonka didn't do well, man. Really, I'm not too happy with it. It took me a while that accident kept me there. Well, I didn't be home. It is the accident that forced me to go to the county because I was like, how will go to the people? I will tell the people, I just fest with them, man. But those who voted for us, I'm grateful because we still won Bond County. Thank you. So I don't want to leave on a sour note.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Madam Chief Jewel Howard Taylor.
Councillor.
Maybe I'll go to the court and go work.
No. Please don't go back. Please don't go back to school. Please don't go back to school. I told you the other day. I told you that lady.
No, I'm going to work in a court now. I'm a lawyer. I got to use my mom. I got to do something.
The law degree. That's true.
Well, I can see you somewhere in the sub-region.
We're going to see you all around.
But quick, where's your thought on the Gloria Musu Ska case? Where's your
okay.
It's another tragedy. No, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what actually happened in that home, but I remember the Gloria Scott who became Chief Justice during President Taylor's tenure and how effective she was. As a young lady being married to a president, there were many days she would come and visit me at my house, or no one wanted to visit me, and talk about life, talk about being a wife, talk about the difficulties of being a Liberian wife, and she would encourage me. So she and I had a really, really, really tight bond. I'm really sorry the way things have turned out. And I will continue to pray for her and her family.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, and have a great week. I see you doing a great job.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. It was great.
You and ECOWAS and all of that.
So you will make recommendations for me now so they can give me some kind of job.
Yeah, we'll write that.
Your eminence is president now, so
I don't think there's going to be a shortage of invitations coming your way.
African leaders help you.
When people got to pay for me to go now, because right now
you can do that now.
Going to places.
You can do that now. You can do that now.
Oh, people can pay me now to go.
You can get paid.
Yeah, I say you got to come home. That the time to come home, Ben.
Yeah,
I know we're not going to end the conversation until I tell you got to come home. That time to come home now, I need managing. I have to come home and manage that woman. The woman won't be managed. That time to manage me now. So can let's do the managing thing.
We will.
And then you got a good pastor too.
Yeah, Reverend Johnson is a strong
moral conscience of society. So you got a great pastor.
Congratulations.
One thing about he said I can do bad. Because one thing about he said the thing was to do me, I was just keep myself. So let me just go straight.
Yeah.
Nobody is been a privilege, really. I'm grateful.
Thank you, Madam President, Vice President. And D Credit's watching. D Credit's watching too. You know D Credit who they
my dear, he got to come out so we can do the next one.
You can do the next one, right? I know. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Awesome. Wow.
That was a great one, Kev.
Guys.
Great interview.
Great interview, great show. What's your thought?
Kev, I will misspeak. Look, all I can say, from what everything, CDC defeated themselves. They should take the blame. They beat themselves. They had an opportunity to win. They defeated themselves. They defeated themselves. Look, all the good things that happened, they didn't showcase. The opportunity to come and do it. People who should have come and played their part, they didn't do it. And as a result, they becoming a one-term party, which is something that they will forever forget. Remember what they did to themselves. Yeah, they did some great things, and that people didn't know. And this was spoken a lot to come up and tell the Liberian people the story. But what we heard tonight, and I like she was very honest, she was very thoughtful, and she came true. Yeah. And people who don't like Jewel perhaps left her tonight saying, look.
I'm reading the comments, apart from the usual, but I'm reading the comments. 3,000 plus people watching.
I think she has a place in our country history, and still more to offer the country in Africa. I'm sure about that.
For me, listen, I and obviously I'm a little biased because I've gotten to know this woman. She's my mother. Everybody knows that. We go way back from when I was youth advisor to former President Taylor. The man that I am today, she's a part of that story, right? And one of the things that I admire deeply about her is her tenacity and her ability to not give up, if you follow Joel's story, you follow her story, you see a woman who has overcome challenges and adversities, and when people think, and I have this statement, and I always say it: those who anybody who underestimates Joel Taylor, you do it at your peril. For those who are even thinking right now that she's done with, that this is it for her, you never know where she may pop up. You never know where she will pop up the next couple of years. But like Peabody consistently says, I think there's not going to be a shortage of Joel around the region, around the continent, around the world. I think people respect her. I think one of the things that I like about her, you saw it in the beginning of the interview, she is very direct to the point. The things she don't want to touch, she will not talk it, right? But you saw her take a little jab here and there to say, listen, we could have done this thing differently. We could have done that thing differently. And I think that is the mark of what. But overall, I think her grace, I think her appreciation of President Weah, taking into consideration, we all saw the relationship play on the screen. We saw how it was difficult in the beginning. It turned out to be a great relationship towards the end. They worked together. And listen, you never know what may be in the works for them. But I thought it was a fascinating interview that she just did. And I'm extremely proud of her. I'm extremely proud of her. I've said to her over and over, the best is yet to come. I think Liberians, we're a society where we like the new shiny thing. But we're quick to always come back and say, damn, when they want, yeah, we didn't like this, when we didn't have this, and all of that. But lastly, just like what you all said, watching that video, Tomalin, you're right. I think CDC defeated herself. She talked about Ellen. Lofa, 2011 Ellen re-election. Ellen had billboards across the country with before and after. Before the Bassa Road, before they had a picture. After, you have to communicate to people. You have to say things to people. You have to, people just don't assume that government is working because when you have an opposition that is pounding you. But I thought it was a great interview, guys. And Kev, you were awesome tonight moderating the show. I mean, you did extremely well. So I want to thank you for that also.
Yeah,
happy birthday.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, Kev.
Peabody, let's do it quick, and because the guys gotta go.
I think the VP did a great job. I think, again, when you are in an organization and the communication is not flowing and this trust among each other, when communication is not going where it's supposed to be, this honesty and everything, and that's what happened. I think CDC brought this on himself. Look at all the great work he done, but you can't even send it out there. You can't even spray it for folks to see. I mean, that's really sad. Who is responsible to get this information out there? Didn't do it. But I don't think the VP will be a parked car. As I said, I can see her in the sub-region, OAU, ECOWAS, and probably United Nations. She have won herself that prize, and I believe pretty soon she will serve on some committee with the AU and other places. But I think it was a great show, Kev. You did a great job. And I think I hope the president will come and we have this kind of time with him. If he's watching, I want to invite him. Come and let's have a conversation and talk to us about your time. But great show, guys. Thank you.
Lofa.
Well, I mean, everybody, she did it. She did her thing. And I'm reading the comments on here. I was trying to read the comments while we were going through the show as well. She did good. She made a case. I like the fact that she was upfront with a lot of the question. She did not try to beat around. She didn't try to be a politician. She was just being who she is, or much more of a mother. Say, okay, ask me the question. I'm going to be upfront, honest with you. Hopefully people learn from it and take something from that, that attitude of not trying to always be a politician and just being, that human at times. Other than that, the fact that CDC is out of the way, I think the only thing that I disagree with her on is looking to give the incoming government that money more. I disagree with that because I feel actually.
Well, Lofa, I think it's because of her. I think it's because of who she is.
But here's the thing, though.
Vice president, yeah. I
agree because of a position. But here is where we differ. The fact that there are so many young girls out there who cannot wait to be like Madame Joy Howard Taylor. There's so many young girls out there who are just saying, God, I just want this opportunity. And I don't think time is in their favor for Madame Taylor, Vice President Taylor, to say, let me give them extra time. Right now, we all should be in drive. Push them, push them, push them, because had the same thing been done, I think CDC would have done something differently. But again, CDC started off fighting among themselves. If you notice, the Unity Party started among themselves. Right now, they're fighting among themselves, fighting for power. CDC started just among themselves, and that's the reason why, to some extent, she was ignored. But then later they realized that she could add value to the team, and Unity Party is doing the same thing right now. So let us not give them time.
That's a question I have for everybody. Kev, you especially, do you think she was underutilized? You think this voice should have been out there more?
I think honestly, we as a party, as a government, we should have done more. Folks in a certain position should have come out more and sell. Certain things. Yeah, I think we should have been out there more. But one thing I can say, the Liberian people in that region, very difficult to sell stuff to, because they don't judge by reality. They judge by the biasness of how they mind. I can always use the word hypothalamus, what they put in the mind, what the mind feeds. If they come and say, I don't like Ben because Ben support this person, don't care what good Ben do, they will not see it. That's the way the Liberian judge. They don't care. For example, things that they criticize under Joey government, we tell, so who care? Imagine stuff that Yeke said that they were clapping. Now they're calling Yeke a crazy man.
Exactly.
Look at Yeke, they say Yeke, they're calling him. You see that thing? They're calling him a crazy man because the mind. They don't.
The biasness. The
biasness. They allow the biasness to cloud their mind. No matter what you do, you say, "Oh, the PHP pack is good, man. Leave me, man. The lie." Even though the PHP pack is there, they will tell you the lie. You understand? Because what they put in the minds of the Liberian.
Yeah,
we got a great work to do in Liberia.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kev. Guys, do you guys think she was underutilized? Tomalin, I know you probably would say yeah, because
for me, I think if we love the president, he would have given a lot of responsibility or so. But I think the people around, I would say the people around, because I think you get evidence about she and some of the officials in the official stage. So I think the people around who are around the president, his close knitted cabinet people around him, I think they really never gave her that, allow him to really utilize her fully. I mean, people will say, well, he's a leader, but yet and still,
he can be influenced.
Yeah, he came from different parties. She was not from the CDC, she's from the NPP and the CDC, and then you had the LPDP. So I think, but I can tell you, one thing I can tell you from tonight, Joy won't be a quiet opposition.
No, she won't be. No, don't matter. I think she's talking. She won't
constructive, but she will be measured in criticism. I can see that. She'll be constructive, but she will not just lead to slack, be a weak opposition leader. I can see that.
I think she was not utilized to the extent she. I know people don't like me to say this, but from the onset, she was marginalized. She was not given the opportunity to really excel, to move forward as vice president. And I think she should have been given the opportunity to represent Liberia more in a lot of things, because this lady has what it takes to speak the language, to speak the language out there. I'm not saying other than not have it, but I think she has it, and I don't think she was given them much opportunity to really excel out there and be who she is. So I think we're going to see a new Joel Howard Taylor now, because she was being very conscious. People think that, there was a mix of lies and gossip, and other people think she's coming too close. It would create some kind of, division. They didn't want and stuff like that. They were not comfortable because of the lies and talk loss and all those things. So I think we're going to see a new Joe Howard Taylor. But I think given the opportunity, we wouldn't have the CDC would not be in what they're in now if she was given that opportunity.
Okay, guys. I think that's it. Time. We gotta go. Thank you, studio.
Wait, tomorrow we have the big program for electricity. Tomorrow we have a program on electricity, on energy programs tomorrow. Then I think on Friday the former fire chief from Minnesota will be here for about an hour with us or so. But tomorrow, Akina Fiddles will be telling us about the electricity, our energy sector, and why we are having problem with our electricity today since the war. So come tomorrow. Let's listen to electricity all but tomorrow. Electricity tomorrow.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, guys.
Lofa, thank you. It was great show, guys.
Lofa,
and happy birthday to you, Keff. Keff, listen, man. Happy birthday.
That birthday song for Keff, man.
Gotta play Keff. Happy birthday to you.
Let me say thank you to Tiola Gibson out there. She called me this morning.
Who call you?
Wait. Let me say this. Okay, let me. The president called me, of course, to wish me a happy birthday. Some of my folks, in the government called me.
I want to say happy birthday to Kev. Kev, happy birthday, man. Happy birthday. A weekend's on me, okay? Happy birthday, man.
There you go.
Robert, you my man.
Who call you?
But listen now, Tommy asked me who all called me. I named people call me, but he want me to name special people. Tommy has some special people that called me today.
Oh,
these are Tommy's special people. So Tommy,
wow.
No.
Happy birthday, my brother.
Who call you, right?
Who I'll call you again, Kev?
And happy pre-birthday to the vice president. Her birthday is on the 7th.
Wow.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Henry.
I tell you, there's all the time we have to be with you today on the program, the closing argument. It's been very fascinating. Let me say many thanks to the guy at Hot FM 107.9 for relaying this program, and the guy there at Truth FM in Nimbak, Cyclopedia 106.9, and other community radio stations for reading this program. For on behalf of the team, I've been here. My name is Henry Jara. Bye-bye from my end.
Love to those who give me war.